What? Hello. We're in. We made it. 9:35. We did well there, Kev. Sunday, the 20. No, the 16th of August, 2020. 9:35. Tis I, David, and brother Kev. Hello. What? Over to you.
Hello, people. How are we? Hope everybody's all right. Just, yeah, quite surprisingly, within 5 minutes, it's getting too professional, Dave. I have to go back to the old ways. Um, no, I hope everybody's well. Having a nice weekend, chilled, relaxed. I don't know what your situation is for the week to come. Whether you've got back to graft or masked up and manacled, or who knows what's going on. But I do hope you're all well, and I send you all much peace and love.
Thank you. Yes, likewise. We have a Sunday surgery sessions today, SSS, and we want to know how you are. We'll keep repeating as we go through and asking. We'll open questions and answers, I suppose. Topics related to. We're quite broad. We can field many areas, so we'll see how we go. Hello to. Is that Jerry? Did I just say? Easy, Jerry. Easy now. I'm just going to share this, and then.
Yeah, I'm doing exactly the same. Sorry, Jerry, I'll be with you in a second, mate. I've just come out of the room, so I haven't seen any comments. I'm just sharing this to my line of time, allegedly. Having a natter with Fanny Batter. No, listen, we won't do that. No.
Fanny Adams, sweet Fanny Adams.
Fanny Adams.
It's the way you meant. She lives on Penny Lane. What? Here we go.
Right. Post.
And the
That's it,
thumbnail.
right. Back in the room. Jerry, Quinn, how you doing? Good evening. Hope you're both well. All good here. Apart from my eyes are playing me up a little bit hay fevery, which I don't really suffer with that much. So it's probably animal fur. I've probably poisoned my own eye by stroking one of the beasts, probably a cat. So yes, that's my only problem. Alias, good evening. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Just a bit of general. We don't really know where it's going. Nothing planned to talk about particularly. We had a little run out last night in the private for an hour or so. Must admit, I did get a bit passionate about a few things we were talking about, but not very long. Not many scribes over there, but funnily enough, it's always relatively quiet in the private and the .com. People pick it up later on and have a look. So, yeah, don't really know where we're going.
Yeah, it was funny last night. There were a couple, not yeah, and I can't remember what we were saying now. I'll have to. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what the room was.
No, I don't remember. I know I got excited about something because I was swearing and everything. But yeah, what we spoke about, yeah, be easy to remember. But
I can remember the priests and the children and the assets and the protection, and we went on about Kevin and I have been asked to look at intervening with the local arm of the government where there is no enforcement, no order, there's no crime, there's no concern. The police aren't actively involved in any ongoing cases or investigations, but yet we have weekly visits by officers to check on the families, environment, and we have the dad being given instructions and orders, and we have spurious claims coming from unfounded, and the police have said certain things to that. Looks like slander and defamation of character, maliciousness going off, and then the ones that have come round to offer help have asked if they're able to, if they would be able to help. They haven't got the authority or jurisdiction. There's no concern or any harm, but we're looking at how to, yeah, that's what we got passionate about, because we ended up saying that this family, for no fault of their own, through being honourable and wanting to do the right thing, have got into a tangled web now. And some of you will know exactly what we're on about. We have to be careful with this. But then the ones that have come round to offer help and protection and assistance, that have actually had to ask for that, like a vampire knocking to come into your house, all right? There's no forcibility, it's consent. Did you like some help with all of this and being on the situation they're in, and to try to be honourable, and because they thought they were dealing with the government? Kev, I'm setting you up here, I hope you remember it. Yeah, I'm going to let you go now. Kev, go. Yes.
Yeah, it's just, the fact it's how they do it. We know it's all deceit and that, but they come round with a big bunch of flowers and full of care and love. And is it okay if we come in? Of course, this young lady, well, of course, yes, it is. Thank you for the contract. Now we're in the fucking door. So excuse the French people, I'm passionate about this shit. And basically the people, we're now going to help them against the people that came offering help on the basis of they're not what they say they are. They've made claims, and we know the police, they've also made these claims, or they must have passed some of these claims on to the authorities, i.e. the local police, who, although it's still a civil matter, I have to say I'm quite pleased that they have been sort of random visiting every 7 to 10 days, all unannounced, and they themselves have stated there's absolutely no evidence of any of these claims that have been made. So it's nice that, I know it's not really their jurisdiction, but as kids are involved, I'm pleased they have been, but I'm even more pleased when they've made that statement. There is no evidence of any of the stuff that they've been told is allegedly going on. They've seen nothing. And then the weirder thing is, the agents themselves, the council agents, because that's what they are, they're not even government agents, have even written that the kids are all looked after and everything's fine, there's absolutely no problem. So basically what they've done, they've gone in the door with the old, oh, hello, we're vampires, we just want a little nibble on your neck. Is that okay? And now they've made allegations, they've got the police involved, the police are going, we've seen absolutely nothing. They're writing, the kids are all fine. So what have they done? I know, we get another couple of names on the books here, so that's more revenue coming in every week. We got the 3 kids on the books. Let's turn on the parents. It's never been about the parents, but this is what these people do. Right, now you've let us in the door. You don't know you've contracted with us, but you said yes, so you're done. And that's basically where this is going, which is just disgusting. And I'm going to have immense pleasure sorting a notice out this week, which is just going to, well, you'll all see it in due course. But I'm really going to enjoy this one. I mean, they're making all sorts of claims that we want this tested and that done and this and the other. Well, okay. Can we see the court order? Make sure it's signed, by the way. Wouldn't have been done in a court where the council rents the room or anything like that, would it? Of course it wouldn't. No. So if you just, I'm going to love this. They've split the family up too. Under what authority? Under what authority have they stopped the father? Under what authority? It's not in government court. Alleged court. I hope it is, because I'll pull that apart too. So who are these people that have, and they have stopped the family being together? How? How the hell have they done this? So yes,
you did get your passionate.
Overfloweth.
You did get passionate, and you did get. This is real work. Never mind pots of gold, blocks of engines, horses, and Yeah,
It's never been about gold.
we're going to step in. What have we done? We've got permission. We're not trustee. We're not power of attorney. We've got permission and authority from the grand settlors, grantors, the ones that actually formed the said property. I did a post earlier on the community page and on Facebook, and it went something like this: mums and dads, when you register baby, whichever sex it is or babies, to the United Kingdom, baby becomes the property of the crown. And I left it like that, just for them to think about, because that's how it sometimes needs to be said, quite raw, for us to be blunt now. Because what we have is, once you've contracted and said, verbally, we talk about there not being a signature required when you contract to make an agreement. I'm just saying a little bit because I'll forget, Kevin, and we'll get back onto it. But the seriousness of the contract and the dangers, but that verbal, you see, because there was no authority, jurisdiction, concern, warrant, order, judge, anything at all. So they've decided to say, is it okay? Would you like some help? And then once you say yes, I dare say there will be a signature at the end of that. I dare say there'll be two, minimum two, because two is a witness. They do these things in pairs or threes. One parent, usually mum, trying to do the honourable thing. And then what they do, Kev come out with the perler. This man, sometimes, I don't know where and how, but it just a perler it was. He said that it's like when they arrest you. Bear this in mind, mums and dads, and if you know mums and dads, this is the contract law that you. It's not real contract law, but arresting and getting the caution read, and it says in there, anything you do say may be taken down and used as evidence against you. So you're self-incriminating is what we call that, by then going forward and blabbering your truth as it is, as it generally is. And when someone comes to your house, and you won't accept them in, what they're generally doing is building up a case, and they're making notes, and they're looking around. They're there for two reasons sometimes. And one, he said about the arrest and the caution, and the fact that they use in a cautionary environment with the rank and file officers there. And he said you got to think of it like that sometimes. If you've done no wrong, you've done no harm. Yes, we appreciate you want to do well. You thought they were government. They're not government, they're a corporation. And you wanted to be eager and to appease and to show willing, but it generally doesn't work out that way. And if it is how it is said it is, with the adrenochrome and Q and the what we're finding out, and we did touch upon the papacy, which again ignited Kev about he calling in the meeting, and he asked them what did I call them now, the clemency, the clergy, all of them that came around. He says, what are you doing, having sex with children that aren't legal age, basically, bluntly. I'll paraphrase it. The first ever meeting of the Vatican nation. And what come out of that meeting was, well, in India or other countries, it's the consent of age is whatever, and that's considerably lower than. So we and he's like, yeah, but this religion of ours, it spans the realm, and it has unified code system, the laws there, the commandments. They go across every continent there that accepts Catholicism, Christianity itself, and Jesus and the Saviour and how it goes. He said, so regardless of the laws of the country there, your biblical laws prohibit you from doing that. And I said, so if we just all, I'm sorry for this, but if we all remember that the highest echelons of the governance of cleanly and holiness, holier than thou, has had to call a meeting of the club to say, stop doing what you're doing, bringing disrepute, dancing with the devil, and I don't know, threaten them in every way you can threaten these lot, I mentioned that as well. So then, if we look at what is purported from Hollywood and from the media and from the banking and from the gates that we've seen, and I'll leave it there, we can imagine that to be true, or more likely to be true, with what's happened with the Jeffries club and whatnot. It's Bungle and George and Andrew and that. It's the monarchy is involved, the church is involved. So Hollywood is allegedly involved. We've had Corey Thingy and Corey Haim come out and say. We've had Dave Chappelle come out and say. Many, too many. So yeah, respect for that, and we just need to remember that while there may be doubters out there of the rank and file Met officers of the UK do not, or did not, they may have changed it, but I don't think they have, investigate missing children that have got a care order attached to them. So they're completely the most vulnerable, the homeless and the young, familyless, less familyless. And then they get in danger and they're regarded as a waste of time to investigate because they're under a care order. So it does have quite cold rules, and it doesn't seem to obviously benefit the ones it should benefit: the system, the policy, the rule, the establishment. And yeah, we're just we've seen some dark stuff, so we have to tell the ones, the mums and dads, what the we give you full information is all we do, and we give you what we know of, not what we think, and what we can prove and what's been
what
said.
we can prove.
That's what we're doing here, aren't we, Kev? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Can I just say, because I think she might have to fly off, so I want to say hello to Wendy. Hi, Wendy. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining us. But I think she might have to do a runner by the looks of it. Got things to do.
I said hello to her.
Fly, hello, mate. Andy. Right, now I'm going into a rant. I'll tell you where we went with it last night. We ended up with, we were talking about the church, and I went, look at the iconography and the statues and that around their buildings. That should tell you, little kids looking up priests' cassocks and bending doubled over, sucking on their own fucking Johnsons. Actually, let's stop calling Johnsons. Boris's. And fuck's sake, it's outrageous. It's right there in front of you. It is disgusting. The BBC building where they just had a big demo. Pedos right above the front door, carved or created by a complete pedo. I mean, and we all know what the BBC were covering up and probably are continuing to do so. It tells you everything you need to know about these satanic parasites. Is too nice a word for them.
We've lost confidence in quite many of the establishments, yeah, and it was rightly put that we have to now defend the ones that have asked or that need help, like being homeless, like being a child with a son or a daughter with no mum and dad to stand to vouch for you, and being under a care order. These are the most vulnerable, less abled, the ones that are mentally, physically. They're easy pickings too. So we worked out that there's a need for an outlay of some contractual offsetting now, like what you do with your liabilities there and your charges. Well, we need to look at how we protect and go forward with, I don't know, there are some times where the property, the assets, the offspring, children will need protecting and to be looked after. Not every case is like that. So we're just letting you know that we had a chat and we're formulating in the background stuff for the DWP and ATOS, and these are all agencies, the ones that purport to be part of the government, and you think they are, and they're not. These are all agencies, so we're getting some powerful notices with regards to assets, which is why we've started off with this, because this is the issue, man's blood, and we're looking at also those that have had harm, injury and loss through things that have happened previously, with involvement of the agencies for benefits and what they've done and how they've sanctioned you. And maybe we've got a chance here to undo some of the damage. We don't know yet, so we're going to see.
Well, there's no reason for them, by their own admission, from what I've heard and you heard, and what we've been told from the other authorities, the Thin Blue Line, there's no reason for them to be there. So why are they still there? That's my point. They've both made statements that there's no evidence and the kids are perfect.
So the resources,
we
look at that and look at letting them use their resources elsewhere. That's the best thing for this.
We think your money best be spent somewhere else, fooling some poor bastard down the road, which we hope comes to us. But it's just outrageous, And as I say, now they've turned their attention onto the parents. Really, it's clear to me there are no issues. After speaking yesterday, thought there might be one, but not after what we was it yesterday or Friday, Dave? Can't remember.
Friday, yeah.
Yesterday,
Friday, I think. Or maybe yesterday. It could have been yesterday. You're right.
Everything just rolls. It's all one long day, believe me.
Yes.
But what was disclosed to us, it's just outrageous. And of course, this poor lady doesn't know what's going on. So when you first explain it, and then you just explain, because obviously people are nervous. Think, oh my God, even though you're telling me this, I'm going up against the government. No, you're not. And that's basically where we start. We go, hey, hang on a minute. Who are you? Because you're registered here and there, and you're claiming to be that. And that's all we're doing. I said, look, that's all we do is we go in and we ask questions that they, under legislation, and they won't be able to answer them without incriminating themselves. So, they sort of do half the job for us. But no, I'm really going to enjoy writing this one. There's going to be a lot to it, a lot of questions. And the boots are on and the braces. So, but it's all nice and polite, non-vexatious. There's no proof of claims, which we've asked for once before. They've just run away. Gave them a notice again, okay? But their reaction was, they've taken out an injunction on us, which is pleasing that they've reacted that way, but we haven't done anything of the sort. We haven't stopped them doing anything. We've asked them to do certain things. So that's their reaction. It's an injunction, right, not talk to him. But we've done nothing of the sort. We have scheduled to fees them, but that's only if they send us back a letter full of nonsense that doesn't answer the questions, then we'll bill them for it. But as long as they answer all the questions, that's cool. But of course they can't answer the questions because they're criminals. Fact. No other way. It is criminal what is going on.
Yeah, it's
deceptive. They are pretending.
Yeah, it's deception. If everything was open and on the table, and we knew what was going on, and the business transactions, and the way that these self-appointed authoritarians are, they sometimes can be malicious, and they might write things down that aren't quite true and make notes, and it's a dangerous. What we need is an intermediary between man and the government. We were saying where things do need to be administered, and to some extent things will need to be governed. Man processes will, processes as well as man consciousness needs to be governed and shepherded, equivalent to shepherding into a new consciousness paradigm. I don't know, because the more we see how we go cap in hand and ask for help, it's non-disclosed in many ways, and there are sometimes a lot more negatives than positives. So if it was all above board and it was all open on the table, then that would be one thing, but it isn't. So when you've got issues like this, and we were talking about such things as even when you're out travelling and you are not in a commercial capacity, and you might have had a little bump, and you might not be at fault, but yet you want to sort it out privately, and you pass details around, and we like to touch upon that as well at some point. If you've had an accident at some point, and then you've sorted it out privately, and then your insurance company gets hold of it and they want to speak to the person and the driver, and maybe the private communications have broken down, and then the one that you had a coming to with was reported it, and the company and the ambulance chasers get hold of it, and that's nothing to do with children as such, but it's to do with the mess that you can get into, and how much agencies can get involved. Your insurance underwriter, your broker, the police, the other party. There's nobody there. It's a civil issue. You're dealing with it in private. Suddenly you're being forced out the private to be, answerable as a driver. Claims going in. The actual claim is probably less than your excess, and there's good reason to want it sorted out in private. You've said you were travelling and that you weren't the driver, but the insurance underwriter doesn't understand the difference, and it just gets a bit messy. If you admit to anything at the scene, your insurance company and underwriter will kind of not be happy. There are strict rules that they want you, not admitting fault, not apologising, and if you don't know these things and you're trying to do well, you can quickly scupper yourself and find yourself without any cover for trying to do the right thing. So again, it's nowhere near the level as losing your property, your son or your daughter, but this legal system, it's vicious, is what we're finding out, and what we're bringing to you here. It's losing your livelihood, losing your your property in the form of blood and your livelihood. Very important. The two greatest things you could lose. So things can quickly,
Yeah.
legally blow out of control, can't they? So it's yeah, as long as you're all aware of this, we are here to take questions, and we're having a Sunday sessions with Kevin and me. So if you've got anything about what we've posted recently, where we're at, or you need any information, we'd like to be productive and give you anything. So your questions, please, and yeah, I'll shut up. I'll yield.
Just having a look at just the last couple of questions. Just looking at what Alias has just written. Yeah, you're Andy. You're right there with the masks, mate. I get that connection. Yeah, getting us used to it all. Hey, pointing thermometers at our heads. I did see a little thing today. I don't know how true it is, people. All right, got no idea how true it is. Because as far as I know, infrared doesn't do a lot of penetrating, for want of a better term. But they're going, yes, they're pointing these thermometers at your head, and fucking, that infrared's fucking with the pineal gland. So I did have a bit of chuckle about it, but just thought, oh my God, is it going that far now? Give them your wrist, by the way. It's much more accurate from the wrist. And don't get yourselves used to having things pointed at your forehead. They might turn into guns, not temperature ones. The way it's looking.
Red dots in them, yeah.
Anybody had any? I got an really interesting voice clip sent to me, okay, by one of the fam, and I'd listened to it. Now, the guy says who he is and the news network, but I listened to it once, to be honest, so I can't remember who it is. I think Dave got it too. He probably hasn't had time. He's been doing 57-page documents, so forget him.
Yeah, catching up.
And it was saying all about, I think it's 1st of October or something, New Zealand Defence Force taking over the airports and blah, 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 and New Zealand going into proper martial law. And so that was, I don't know, what was that, about 10 days ago, Dave? A week ago? Something like that?
Yeah, roughly, yeah.
And then I've just started seeing posts come up on Facebook today about the same thing. So I don't know if anybody knows. I've got a friend in New Zealand, actually. And that's a bit of a joke there because she's a lefty. So in a way, I'm hoping it's true. And when it happened, I could phone her up and go, hey, you had to move all the way to New Zealand to get a taste of the ideology you were voting for in England.
I did post a link to places with Donald Trump saying, with Dr. Fauci at his side recently, that they are willing and ready and able to deploy the vaccine to the areas that need it the most. The areas that need it the most are like your downtowns areas, demographic poor, vulnerable, etc. So they said they're going to help the distribution. It's going to be done with the army, the military. And then the YouTube channel that this lady that was reviewing this says that she's got beliefs, and her beliefs are going to inhibit her from wanting. And I was like, yes, sister, I like you. Yeah, carry on. There's a lot like you out there. Let's hear what you're saying. And they've even written in to their public that's constitutional, what is it out there, congressional, and the way that it gets laid out through the president, the militia, the army. When we say, right, because I need to get this out there and just hear what you think about it, and how it bounces about, because if we don't say these things often and more often, then our consciousness will never expand to the concept. But you physically seeing a tank or an officer and militia in some form, that will wake you up. Yeah, I know, but what we're hearing and what you're saying then is, so when we say the Surgeon General and the generals and the chief of staff, he's not the man in the village that was the shepherd with the wood in his hand. That was the wizard or the magician or the Merlin, the chief of staff with the scepter, the orb, and even Thoth, Hermes depicted with stick and rod, scribe, etc. So these militia, as we've pointed out, in the greatest of respect, it is military. The church is a form of a militia, it appears, and the greatest, the strongest. They even called in history before for the times of Christianity against, we'll say, against the darker skinned families, Middle Eastern faith. And they did an emergency shout out and called in all the kings, didn't they, for a certain reason? And they went back out and they had to convert to Christianity or they had to die by the sword. And we hear stories of tar down throats and certain inquisitions, and blah, blah, blah. So the church is, and respect to the Christians and to the Catholics and all of the Latter Day and the Evangel, all of you, we're a fam. It's not to insult, we do this because, so there is an army out there, and that in my eyes is the army of dogs. That's the dog soldiers, the dog army, and it's strong. And then it controls the monarchies underneath that in its regime of hierarchy, and this is for a lineage of thousands of millions of years, I'd say. I'd argue, because time is a cyclical loop, so that's why I say millions. It's a continuous onward battle, and we find the militia present. We say the schools are like a militia. The bell rings, they get up, attention, registrar, register, payment, commerce, trusts, biblical trusts, ecclesial trusts, common law trusts, many constructed trusts. Layered, we've got UCC over that as well for the financial. We've got the biblical. So when we say, these times, I don't find it surprising is where we're going now. That the President of the United States, are we still at war? The recuser, is it? We got the recuser, and then we've got the other man. There's two important ones in there, but at war with the people, biblical, spiritual war. It's a holy war. It's a commercial war, of love and war. There are many levels to these wars as well. So, as many of you know, it doesn't surprise me where we're going to and how it's coming, but. This is the last little stand, because all I'm going to say is we have notices to higher levels of government and we've got things we can try and do, but together, peacefully, respectfully and intelligently, within this time, you would need confirmation that they have heard you. And when we go international now, because how serious things are getting, I don't think a Magna Carta, a constitution, and the certain little bits that we've been trying to chelp on about to defend civil charges like council tax, PCNs, and utility bills and charges, etc. They're not working on them. So why are we going to use an anti-pissant thing to try and defend our blood and our families and our what is coming that may be mandatory and enforceable by the current militia that is at hand? So when you say, martial law is coming, it's no disrespect to Kev or anybody. We are all under martial law right now. The hospitals are military of the state. So it's a foreign concept of which we wishy-washy about on this channel, and we don't get hardcore enough about it. The truth is in the officers, a federation, officers. Where have you heard that word before? The federation. Yeah, the Galactic Federation, the Empire Federation, the Federation of Nations, the Federation of the Armada, and the Empire. We've had a British Empire. There's an empire in the galactic battles there. So we got to learn to recognise that we need to get out. That tune, we're in the army now, that diabolical, horrible tune by those men in that time, of which I try to forget for various reasons, not just that song. But we move on. So it's when we go, but they're coming, and they're already here, and that's why we do what we do, and we preach what we preach, and we speak how we speak, and we have this stance, not because we're after the pot of gold, but because the souls and the blood and the mixed mash-up religion and the way that we are with it all. It's our way to say we're actually peaceful. We don't really want. Many of you as well are. Our trust has bonded to man, is what we did in the early days. We decided if we're going to make a bond, it's the best thing to bond to, really, you know what I mean? And how would you bond, and what would you bond for? We saw the plight of our family, man, all colours, all nations, all creeds, all religions, all sexes, all preferences, all disturbances, agents, trills, all of it. It's life is life, so it needs to be respected and loved and turned into something positive. So we pledged a bond to actual humanity, and hence why you seem to like us and what we do and how we do it and why we give what we give to you, and what we do is for that reason only. So I'll leave it there. I've been a bit hard with that one, but we've said things. It's just nothing, nothing we haven't said before. How do you feel about that? Is it sitting well? It's not a surprise to us, but to some others, it's a real slap in the face, and we're sorry for that. And we have got a last little few tricks, and they will rely on international, and it's the biggest, baddest, next to the ecclesia, which we can undo with testamentary and man's evidence. Why do you think we've given you the foundation identity document, which would be the certificate of birth, not the birth certificate? And we want you to get that, as many of you now, and then we can use that to say certain things and profess and claim, testify. And I'm not using all the right words here because I'm tired, and but it will be done. And if that isn't good enough, then if you've got a better idea, we'd love to hear it.
Come forward.
Please, yeah. Yeah, thank you. Nice one.
Now listen, I know this might sound corny, but it's genuine. Our gold is having helped people. I'm telling you, nothing in the world can give you that feeling when somebody's had a result, you stepped in, given them some direction, or maybe done something. That's the payment right there. I don't care how much money that you got. That feeling is priceless. It really is. For me, it certainly is. I know it's for Dave.
Yeah, well, that's what we said to Kev. This has got the help that we do sometimes has got the potential. Like, we know the DWP and what that power is, and we're in the right hands of having your account sorted out. Not the account that pays you benefits and your entitlement relieved. Back to you. That's massive, but it's financial. You see, we're quite, I don't know what the word is, blasé about this, because it's just standard. Chewing the numbers, looking at the authority, the jury, the same old, really. It's a bit boring, and it's not really. It's great that people get a result and you get your stuff sorted, but that's just middle of the range. But then when someone comes along and says, I've got X, Y, and Z, and you think, wow, we've really gone and done it now, because we've gone out and now we've got this is the most honourable, precious thing you could ever do to help your fellow man. And we know what the dangers are, isn't it? So this one it does. Some of the times when somebody cries on the phone from happiness, no amount of money can make you feel that amount. Or when you have to stop somebody from being scatty and negative and losing it, and we just have a half-hour chat in a safe environment privately, and we turn somebody's life around. And then they start crying through first they were crying through despair, and then they're crying through happiness. So we go through a range of times, don't we, Kevin? Some are more rewarding than others, and that is a payment. The spikiness and the hairs and the tears and the sound of the voice from one to another. And that's a universal, that's a transmission of love, of empathy, of all the things this government and militia do not have. All through the times and the history, there has been hierarchy of psychopath that is not creative, that's not you can't be creative and empathetic when you're a psychopath. It cuts off. That's how they can sit in front of lie detector machines and say, no, I didn't rape that X, Y, and Z. I mentioned a name from somewhere in history that he begged the judge for the death penalty because he went places that nobody can return from. I'll leave it there. Let alone the Ricky Ray Rector story with the lobotomized Dutch. Do you know what I mean? There's no empathy. They get pleasure and payment, and they've sold the soul, and we haven't sold our soul. We're not here to take your money. Yes, we'd like donations, and we'd like to bring community standards back up to a level where we could all rely upon one another and do things for ourselves and self-govern, self-administrate, and not have to deal with psychopaths throughout all of history that have had then law lords that have worked around them with the blessing of the house of God usually, and funding sometimes, to create other realms of which is just pure slavery and nastiness. It's not been pretty throughout all of history, right up to the 1800s. So you're thinking that, like we said with the Sarah Jassara tongue-in-cheek mode, do we really think that after all the, like Hitchens coming out with the gods watching over mankind for 98,000 years of slaughter and whatever, and then in 2,000 years ago in Bronze Age Palestine, it's such an excellent, I'm sorry if it offends people, but Kev, that was legendary. way of putting it, and that's how it is. It's tribal sometimes. When we talk about rights, how do they come? You know, is there a divine right of king? Is the creator, or is it just a free for all, big bang? You know, the strongest survives, and you know, do as thy will is out of the window, and it's just one for all kind of thing. The strongest survives. So we have to point out sometimes that it's nothing new. It's just that it's gone from warfare into business. It's gone really, really, the kind of dirtiest war you can ever have is to pretend you're helping somebody out, but you're really robbing them, and that's business. You know, here, I'll sell you this, and you know it's cheap and it's the best thing, and you won't get a better deal. Turns out he bummed you. What? And it was your mate. What? That's business. I'll leave it there.
Yeah, that's the way it is. No honor amongst thieves anymore.
Honestly, it's some proper nice Stardog isolated oil. You go and get it, come back, turns out some cheap shit from wherever in Asia that's synthetic and not, as you said. What? The man's asking questions.
Yeah, funny enough, I've just scrolled back to one from
Cool.
Andy. It says, do you have an opinion on Greg Hallett's documents? Yes. He's full of shit. I've got a post from his sister, or a comment on a thread from his sister, and go and watch the video with his 3 sisters. And anyway, if that line was true, he also wouldn't be the next in line. It's nonsense, mate. Sorry. For me. Absolute nonsense.
Malcolm's in the house. Hello, brother Malcolm. He's made it. I think it might be of the Burt estate. Sorry to interrupt, but hello to all, and thank you for joining, especially to brother Malcolm. Carry on.
Yeah, his sisters, you know, so I've got some quotes from his sister where she's replied to messages and stuff, Tam, which I put in SPL on the Facebook before, put them up. I've seen I've dropped it in a few places to people as well. What do you want another king for?
I think
the idiot we had's gone.
I've met him. I've got a private video of some interaction, and I think it's not true. I think he's deluded in many ways, and he doesn't have enough evidence. I can't prove. I'd need DNA blood tests. We need to get him sat down. We'd need to proper, you know, it'd take ages. I'm not ruling it out, but from what he said and the evidences and what was presented and other outside influences that we've done with due diligence, and John, the other one popping up that was New Zealand Maori man, weren't he? Was it John?
Oh, John Manoa.
Yeah, and then we got someone in Australia now saying they're the king. So
Steve. Somebody.
Yeah,
that's the one that Tony Robinson investigated.
Time Team, Baldrick, Blackadder. Ah, yes.
Yeah.
So in the end times, there will be deception, and many will try to claim and all that. I know it's not, you know, something we actually give credence to as much now, but references to, and I don't know. I don't think it's very solid claim. Can I just answer, because someone's got a question about birth certifications and adoption at birth? I would like to know how adoption at birth affects the birthing certificate. Does it make it more difficult to be captain of our own ship? If you're on about claiming rights and titles and property when you say captain of the ship, I hear you. And does it make it, if you're adopted, or if you have adopted, I presume you would be adopted then, and you would like to know, no, it shouldn't. You've got paper, and as long as you've got the paper, then you can claim a title. So if you've got a certificate of birth, which is your hospital, a copy of the hospital records, and then you've got the subsequent birth certificate, you'll be able to use them and state things. And you have one that is to do with the foundation identity of man, blood, flesh, natural. Despite the birthing words and whatnot, you can argue that there is matter and conscience there, and you can argue that you have a person that was birthed sometime later at the point of registration. So it doesn't matter to anybody if you're with the mum and dad, or if you was I got kicked out of home at 15, and I know what it's like, not to adoption, but to be rejected by your fam is what I'm going to say. Because of no fault of my mum, so it shouldn't complicate it. Go on, Kev. So
I was just thinking, could it be? Is there a possibility it's the case that there was the original birth certificate? I know they were adopted, but then would there been another certificate in the new name issued and the old one struck out, or maybe there's two?
but that's just like a deed poll. That's just like when you change names on a deed poll. It doesn't.
I'm just saying I don't
Yeah.
know what they do. I mean, you know, in that respect. So, you know, is it another? I know that about adoption papers and all that sort of thing. I get that.
So if you was, let's just
Could you have
stop. Wait a minute. So if you was John Smith, and you was John Smith until 5, and then suddenly something happened, and you had no parents anymore, the state take John Smith in. John Smith is in the state's care, and Mr. and Mrs. Williams come along, and they say, we'll adopt John Smith. So what happens then when John Smith becomes John Williams? Is it that they amend John Smith's paperwork to reflect John Williams, or is it that John Smith's paperwork is gone and a whole new set is created for John Williams? Either way, man's got a birth certificate or whatever, and that's what you would use. That's the secondary. So because he's gone from Smith to Williams, but on the original blood, man, natural, hospital, that's the one you really want to be focusing on. That will always be Smith, but you will have paperwork saying Williams, but from Smith to Williams, baby Smith to Citizen Williams, if you like them, because the one is blood, natural, baby, hospital. One is legal person, dead entity, Williams, corporate. When you come to that, you would argue that there would be administrative, proof of Smith to Williams. So again, I wouldn't see any complication in any and all of that. It's just the bit that we didn't have, that's the most important, was the hospital records, which was known as the certificate of live birth. So if you've got that bit, I don't really care what you've got at the other end, because you know what, it doesn't really matter that much, because that's the bit we want to trade in. It's your first bit that counts. So whether or not, I'm sorry to interrupt, I'll yield again, but I hope that clarified.
I was just thinking to myself, I do while you were talking, I was just thinking, so hang on, so maybe if they do a new set of documents, are they getting rid of the old ones, or is that floated as well, because as we say, the stillbirth is still a birth, etc. So maybe they've had double bubble on this one, because they've got two certificates in two different names. That's where my brain was going with it.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, it's. I think it's.
Is that like almost right? We've had the baby born, we've had the placenta born, which we can count that in, same DNA, call that something else. And now it's going to be adopted. We've got a third one on this one, 3 tickets on this one.
Don't, it's just, don't. I know you're messing, but yeah.
Well, I am sort of messing. I'm adding humour to a very real possibility.
Like what? That reminds me of like when the capital punishment murders the innocent man, and then it's too late to bring back the innocent man, and obviously the one that did it has got off scot-free. There's someone died or been murdered because you're on death row, you're waiting capital punishment, to be human sacrificed equivalent, and they get monies for this as well. 20 million on average. I did some research on. I'm like, bloody hell, that's a big. I know you need to investigate and do your tests, but they still do it wrong. Old Sparky, if you got any comments on that, I'm happy to answer stuff on as well as. But it's. It's not. It just reminds me of certain bits that we've looked at before. Where we've got the state and the power and how much they've got, and these certificates and what they're doing, how they treat us. It's an eye opener, isn't it, for some?
Indeed.
But yeah, just reminded me of that little section there as well, where you said double whammy. It's there's a lot of double whammies when, especially if you're no longer with us and you're innocent, you can never, which is why. Yeah. And I did say I was serious about that. Priti Patel and Ian Hislop. I was really stunned by Priti Patel saying I'm actually for corporal punishment and whatnot after, a background. And I'm not saying just because she's darker skinned she should be against it, but you'd think, there's a little bit of if anybody is going to be sensitive to corporal capital punishment, human sacrifice, it would be the ones that have been picked on and enslaved and victims of the British Empire and the colonial occupation. We don't even teach correct colonial history And if we did start doing that, I think that consciousness in itself would be helped out when we recognise the ones that we have actually persecuted and killed and abused and chewed up and spat out in the name of the empire. You know, and we've got a darker skinned lady. You know, we're all peace and love here, and I'm not fully white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, am I? So I have the room to speak a little bit in the demographic of the lesser and the foreign, so to speak. All Anglo are foreign, but to have a darker skinned lady there who's got a lineage, a gene pool of oppression from the British, colonialized, years, and for her to come out and say, I'm in for the whatever, and defending the borders like that. I thought we was supposed to help each other, and I'm not saying we should open the borders for all, but it's amazing. In certain times, you'd think that 50 years ago, this would never have been on the world stage. It's where we're going and how we're getting there is why we're here. I said to Kev, we're actually becoming some kinds of policing of the what business is that what we call it? Our lives and the game of life is now a business, and certain things, oxymorons are one thing, but a race, a nation. Yeah, Priti Patel, English. I'm not saying she isn't. I'm not being any demo. I'm not trying to create anything. All I'm saying is I was surprised to hear words like that come out of that woman's mouth. And if that amazes some of you, so be it. If it doesn't, and you hear what I'm saying, thank you. It's a dark times we're in. Where another example is in the Second World War, you may have had some kind of let me think now, an American type German fighting in the American army, and he's got more ness to the actual side he's fighting than the actual side he's fighting with. But he's fighting against his own country because he's pledged allegiance to the United States flag, not the States, but he pledged allegiance to the flag of America. And you've gone in the American army as, say, a black German, and you've gone in there fighting the Germans, or whatever demographic that you are, and you've gone across from your country into another country, and you pledge allegiance to it, and then you go in that army, and you end up fighting your own home country with that other country that you've gone to, and you know what I mean? It's just it's things that we do. It's dirty. They make us, I suppose, get in a mess with it all. I've lost my son away, but you know what I'm saying, I'm sure.
Indeed.
I'm gonna look at the room, Kev, see if there's questions.
Yeah, I'm just having Fly's made a comment in response to the stuff we said about how he pointed out that he met him at the meetup, and he called him out straight away.
Oh, why? Who are you?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't, have you noticed that alleged insignia or crest of his with the sailboat at the top and what looks suspiciously like fangs of a serpent in reflection?
77, a serpent, yeah, I did a boat, 77, serpent. As do kings have a divine right? Yeah. I don't think they do. I don't think there is a divine right.
Don't need it. Well, anyway, we don't need any more of that nonsense. What does Liz do apart from rape us all? She's not another fucking German.
Battenberg, is it Mountbatten?
Got Saxberg Gotha, isn't it?
Oh, there's got Sax.
Yeah, Louis Mountbatten's Battenberg, that line, but yeah, they're all
Windsor,
wedged in the back Saxon. Of each other, the weirdos. Fucking each other. That's what we end up with.
Yeah, we'd like.
All right, I'm at the bottom of the room now. Right, okay, yeah, I was quite a way back, so I was looking at.
I see Snafu's joined us. Hello, Jesus.
Yeah, hello, Snafu. How you doing? Mr. Mentz.
Charlotte. Yeah, I see.
Charlotte.
Lindsay was there.
Generous. I know Wendy popped in, but then she had to disappear off. JJ. Dwight.
See, I'm not getting asked any personal questions about my children now. I'm here to answer for them. As I thought, whenever I'm on the mic, I see that nobody will come on and make claim, but when I'm not able to concentrate, thank you all for the screen management.
Yeah.
Blue Mans, I got told by Kevin that there was some remarks about child maintenance and the fact, I told him I'm not paying nothing. If you're going to not give me the data for my blood, and I've got an agreement with you, the agreement is we pay. And so that got brought up allegedly by somebody that must be connected to, so that's my private life, but thank you for managing that. And yes, it appears there are some arrears that need to be, but what's the higher price here? The state and the mum playing games. I got a court order, I got a writ, it was 20 grand in 2 years. There was no reasons why man could not see his property. But then when the mum moved house and didn't tell me, and I've told you all the truth there, and I've even brought my mum on the channel to have a chat with you. That's how open and full of disclosure we are. So there's bitterness with mum, and there's bitterness with me because I didn't see my boys grow up from the ages of roughly 8, and 6 until 22 and 20. So, if we are going to argue, I'd just like to do a little bit defence here. Which is the greater loss? The financial incremental payments of support throughout that time, or in fact, my boys are the ones that are the worst off because they were denied the right to see their father because of legal and financial bureaucracy brought on by the mother and the CSA at the time. The lovely little ladies from Belfast, the agency there, that cocked it all up. So if we are going to, point the fingers and say, oh yeah, Dave Indy's a bad man, I'm not a bad man. I got a gripe with the system and my blood got took away from me and I thought I'd make a stink. I didn't want to dress up as Batman and get on a building. I ended up getting on this road and here we are today with what we've got. So I'm rather glad I did, and I'd argue that the boys have got a loss there, that through personage and barratry and non-disclosure, the system of the, and that's why we have this contempt and loss of confidence, because the mum might be a bit pissed off that there's some money's owing, her boys are pissed off, or dad's pissed off, nobody wins here. Litigation, very expensive, and nobody wins. Just remember that one.
Yeah. Well, the bar do.
And the property, the children, the blood are always the ones worst off. I'm a dad, I can take that. Dads take it. Dads walk around scarred. Mums walk around scarred. Children walk around scarred. That's what we're trying to stop. Getting rid of, Uncle Scar would be nice. Yeah, so apologies and thank you is ultimately the bottom line. And that's as much as I want to share, really. But thank you, family, for that. I do love you.
No, I was going to say thank you all to the people. And there was another idiot in there. I think it possibly the same idiot trying tonight, just coming in, making pointless comments, just wasting time. I see he was all straight on that. Thank you. So I wanted to thank you all for keeping an eye on what was going on. There's just no need for it. Everything's out in the open. Nothing's hidden. And, what about your children? Well, they're hardly children now, are they? So I mean,
yeah,
it's
20 and 22 or 22 and 80. Yeah, I forget it's been that long. Bloody hell, I know the date of births and that, but I'm parental alienation is a crime. In itself, unnecessary, and the mum broke a court order. So when the mum breaks a court order and you ring up your solicitor after 20 grand in 2 years and say, hey, what do we do? And they say, we're going back to court. Oh, are we now? Oh, pan back in pocket because the mum's been naughty. I've got to go and pay and get... No, we're not doing that. I go to the street, was what I did, and I got the word out and I found the road they was on with no solicitor. I did it privately, look, everyone. I chose to deny the solicitor, to put her hand in my pocket and use personage and barratry and take the position of, etc. and go down that road for maybe another 6 months, a year, and how many thousands of pounds. And just within a month or so, and no pounds, I found out the road they was on. So there's an example there. And there's a question, Kev, about trusts and schools. From, I think it was Andy, can we answer that? He said, when are we creating a trust? It's just skipped up a bit, Andy, wait there. When you send in the kids to the school, the kids are the beneficiary, mum and dad, settlor, and the school is trustee. That's bang on. He's said it, he's answered his own question, hasn't he, there? Are we setting up a trust? No. You are entering into a trust that is constructed. So by you um, allowing, consenting to present your property at that school, you hand over the responsibility from you being legally, let's think about it, responsible, all right? That's what you are when you're the pair that rents because you've got registered. So if we haven't corrected anything legally, the title access to said property is as trustee, dad and mum. That's the crown into when we say when you register, your baby is now the crown's baby. It's the title transfer of property. Okay, nobody's dead, everyone's still alive, but they're saying that that property is now exclusively under the state management as the grantor, and you have been tricked in a constructed trust there at registration, which then furthermore at the point of 18, relinquishes back onto the child, who's then a man. When the child becomes man, 17, 18, they comes from the parents and goes upon us, each are you. So at the school, it goes from mum and dad being the pair, because I've got to get this right. This needs to be put out there, bang on. So that's where you are to start with. You think you've got all allodial and such titles, but you can dream on. In reality, until you correct that, and welcome to our world, and we have these papers for you. But you hand them over. The school is now legally responsible for them in the trust. You entrust that when you come to 3 p.m. or 3:15 and it finishes, there'll be no black eyes, there'll be no abuse. We've talked at the beginning of the show about the abuse we're talking about now, yeah, and everything's good. If there is mismanagement or medicine, there may be specially, requiring to have certain things at certain times. And if that's not done, then that's a failure. If harm has happened, it's a failure. So yeah, you entrust your, well, I'd like to say it is your property ultimately, regardless of the paper and the constructed unconscionable. You can verbally express a trust, all right? That's what we tell you and what we can say. So you could argue the correction in front of somebody and put them straight, and that's it. Your paperwork could come afterwards. So they can't provide title rights to that property that you say is yours, and you can, because you hold, as the holder in due course, for baby John, Jane, whatever, the birth certificate. The school don't, so you go, I'm the, and you can also do other things, handwritten notices, and inform them and serve them. And delivery is acceptance. And Kevin and I have got some rather beautiful, cheeky ways, like he explained to somebody the other day about notices, and or letters, and once they're in the post, what did you say about the timing and the delivery and the serving, Kev? So that was a nice little, powerful thing that the postal system, when you send a signed for letter, and it's as soon as it's in the post office, you said, it's
yes,
considered.
So the minute you pay for it, so the minute you pay in for signed for, special delivery, anything like that, it's deemed as served. The moment you pay for it, they give you that receipt. That's it. It's served. That's deemed as served from that point on. So they haven't even put it in the postal sack yet. It's already served. You paid for that service. So that's it's a good thing to have. That's why it's guaranteed. That's why it's deemed as served. It's guaranteed to get there. So the moment you pay, that will get there. Done. That's been served.
Yeah, delivery is acceptance, and that's where that bit would, I think, come from when I found out certain particulars of timings and estates and defaults and faults and etc. If you can prove in a court of law that it's been delivered, it's therefore been accepted, because the UPU, the President Trump's administration has appointed a new postmaster. We need to talk about Russell J. Gould's claims to the flag and the fact that Trumpy has appointed an ally as a postmaster. So yes, the UPU, a fixture of the special delivery, is guaranteed. And as long as you've done it properly and you haven't sealed the envelope till you go to the post office, and you put that little reference sticker onto the notice as well as the envelope, and it's inside and outside. Otherwise, you've effectively sent an envelope recorded delivery. And what they can do at the other end, everybody, is open that envelope, take out the contents, burn it, bin it, shred it, and when you ring up and argue that you've noticed them, they'll say, oh yes, we've got that. Yes, it was just an empty envelope. And you go, no, it wasn't. I put something in, and they'll be like, no, I'm afraid you didn't. But if you put the sticker on and you reference it and you take a photo, and I know it's a bit weird, but if you're really going to be relying on this, then there's certain things we can teach you to say. So when they try the tricks at the other end, and believe me, there are some tricks, you can indemnify against that. So you use the system for the system, to be fair, and it seems to work well. Then we recognise that, so that's why your delivery is acceptance. If you're in a court of law and somebody says they served you, sorry, if you're in a business administration venue known as a court of law, and somebody is there, the claimant, and they said they served you, and you ask the question, My Honour, I'm conditionally accepting all that these are saying, and I'm willing to deal with that. I'd like the time now to administrate my own defence and to turn my estate, and they allow you that, and you, okay, adjudicate this. The claimant, I'd like to see the proof of where you've got that you can prove in a court of law that satisfies the governance of the civil procedure rules, that you can prove that you served I, man, and that I had the time, to be duty, what is it now, the rights to face my audience and the rights to face my accuser. I'm here today to accuse you that you did not serve I, and I was not served in accordance with the law. If this is the case, then all of this falls down, and you'd ask then for the proof of claim that you were served. And if it was a letter that came through the post and there was no signature or anything and the dog ate it, then you wasn't served in accordance with a court of law, in which case, so it's marvellous when you find out the finer details of things and the particulars and why they're there. Sometimes, if you don't know that stuff, you go running on for days and weeks in a defence when you could have pulled it down in day one. But they're not going to tell you if you don't notice this, and you don't know the rules and the powers. I'm not saying you. That's why we're here again. Don't fret. We've got quite of them locked down, haven't we, Kev? So, well said and noted. All right. I know it's a bit weird and deep, but it's relevant and it's detailed for you because the game is detailed. The devil in the details,
Yeah. Lots of fuckery going on. You've got to be aware of it. Dodge it. Navigate. On the starboard, Mr. Christian. Andy Greggs, hello, mate. Mia, Mr. Dav.
Mr. Dav,
Charlotte,
I spoke to Mr. Dav. I'd like to speak to him again. He's gone a bit quiet, but yes, hello to all them.
Did you frighten him off?
We had a nice brief chat. I believe he enjoyed it, and he should be coming back for more. Yeah, Charlotte, we need to catch up, and I'll be on some emails tomorrow and admin, sorting some odd jobs out here and there. So you will hear from me, one form or another, electronically tomorrow. Look at that, he missed 9 years of seeing his little girl, no amount of money and no compensation. It's about the same for me. Of the little girl, that's parental. What we're talking here, Mr. Dav, to me and to other dads and mums, if it's the other way around, it's called parental alienation. You are stopped if you hadn't have given the court, like I as well, and given it credence, and you'd have ignored it, do you know what? You'd never have seen your kids again because they just shut the door on you. And when you go round and the mum is using the property as a weapon, because that's what they do, to be fair, it's sometimes quite frictional, and it's awful what happens from a moment of the most loving thing to a man and a woman could do. Biologically, it has to be a man and a woman, I'm sorry, but is create, I'd say, I've just offended probably half maybe the viewers, but I'm sorry, I'm old school. I'm digging a hole maybe, but the most in because we're hermetic and we look at the laws and the fixed, immovable laws and stuff. I know things can be changed and we can interpret. That's one thing, but these biological sparks and mum and dad making a baby the old-fashioned way it was up until recently one of the most rewarding and loving things, a sentient consciousness and matter could ever do. And the reward for it was because, as what was his name, Curtis Callenbach said, Mum and Dad do the bedroom dance, and they drop the ingredients off at the building site, and then the workmen come along and take the sperm and the egg and stuff, and it's not Mum and Dad's decision whether there is fertilization and conceptual, the spark and the cells, fertilization of the sperm to the egg, and the journey beginning. So that's down to Mum's body and biology, yeah. And that reward, if that happens, is life, and that life is one of the most precious things that if it goes well. I don't know anybody whose mum and dads are still together. When I was 16, 20ish, it was probably 5%. It was quite average to be in a single parent family. We've talked about that and the breakdown of communities and how that happens and why. And then, if you then, that loving bit of cherished, blood, and it's called sired, desire, when you desire something, and when you desire something, yes, sire, my lord, Baldric and Blackadder again, my lord, yes, Blackadder, Baldric, the servant for Blackadder. We'll keep it low key, we won't give any creed to the current monarchs and powers there, because we don't recognise them. So I'll go Blackadder Baldric, and that's the sire, the king, the one that he respects and commands. That could be put better, but I'll just leave it there. So sire, S-I-R-E, is a kingship or a queenship and a position of power. And when you desire something, you want something, you crave it, and you lust after it, and you must have it, and you desire it. And that can be many things. Generally, it starts off with courtship, a ship of the court. You're on the court and the ship. That's the dirty one, that. I'm going to use it again. The courtship for desire. But when you actually take the crown off the king, and you'd say, time's up, you've mutiny, I forget what it is now, but I forget the name. You desire them, so therefore it's, I'll leave it there. And words are brilliant, they're tiny, and when you look at them and you think, I'd never even seen that until recently.
Yes, that happens a lot. That's your fault. I do that now, pulling words apart. Can I just say, Alias has put a comment in. I'll read it out just so who knows what's going on. I watched an interview with Romola D from Romola D Reports, and there's a tribal king from New Zealand laying claim to the throne. Yeah, you're talking about John Wanoa.
I think so.
And
his flag. Maori tattoo. Has he got tattoos all over his faces? And yeah.
John Wanoa hasn't.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
No, one of his friends has, but he's got Wanoa himself isn't.
I can't remember. I have had a video chat with him. I can't. That was some time ago.
Yeah, he keeps getting sectioned.
So who was you on about? Just before we go on, who was an interview on Romola D with who?
From Romola D Reports, and there's a tribal king from New Zealand laying claim to the throne.
All right then, thank you. I'm scrolling now, looking. Thanks, Ken.
Yeah, I don't know how far back I am, mate.
All right.
Just past Charlotte's comment with, I can't even see what it is. I ain't got my glasses on. But there's 4 emojis. That might help you find it. It's quite big. Yeah, I've watched a few things on him. Another one. What do we want a king for God's sake? Okay, now. And I've the stuff I've seen of Wanoa. One of the first ones I ever saw. Not sort of bloke he was king anyway. I'm going to come over here and cut fucking Queen Elizabeth's fucking head off, and all this bollocks. And then the bloke he had come on after him who's talking was one of the most racist people I've ever come across in my life. So, king, yeah, not for me. Thank you. So, no, yeah, there's plenty of stuff out there about him. I don't buy any of it, and certainly if the one we've got has gone, we don't need another one. And anyway, the way things are looking, we're just going to get the NWO, and we're going to have to like it. Not to put too fine a point on it. Something's got to happen.
Thank you for that. I see that that may be a female then. Um, I would never use my son as a weapon. It's the lowest of the low. It sounds like a woman coming from that. I'm just assuming. Um,
Who's sweet?
yeah, I'm just reading.
Yes,
And then anyone who
I
does that
believe
is
so.
wicked.
I've been, yeah.
Very blessed, son of Mick. Yes, cherished them. I like that energy. I'm going to make you blue. You've only just come on tonight. It's a rare time. And we're going to cherish that. Yeah, you can have a moderator. I get the intent. Thank you for that. I'm going to scroll up as well, Kev. We're taking questions. It is a surgery, all right. We've got a broad field here of discovery. So hit us up with whatever you've got a question about. We're not giving legal or medical advice. No,
or indeed doing any physical surgery.
2 doctors, male and female. Snafu says this. Did a 15-year study of single parents. Female side, 90% kids psychological and emotional damage. Man side, less than 10%. Go figure.
Ooh, that's a strong statement to put in here, boy.
No, but he's saying that the girls, then the female, will get more psychologically emotional scarring from it than men, or men are just good at covering it up. Snafu. It might be that men don't talk, that men don't get in touch with their emotions. Men can't say love you because it's a bit gay, but it's not gay. It's just that we think it is, and we got these propositions about the ways that we act and how we say, and when we pin it down. I think men have a massive problem, and that's through no fault of their own. And I'm not perfect in any way, so I'd argue women are a bit too open, and the other way. Not that it's a bad thing. That's brilliant. Keep it as it is, but we're not equal. We don't say the things when a man and a woman have a conversation. It seldom goes the way that it really should go, and we say things that we think the others want to hear. We lie a little bit. We might be conservative with the truth. We might fabricate because we want to protect them. We might be passive aggressive. We've got the programming from all of the other bits and bobs and music and Hollywood, and so I'd argue. I'm not saying that those numbers are wrong, but in society. We're never going to get to the truth because we can't even face ourselves. I'll yield. Yeah.
Struggle out there and say the kids, and it's hard enough, and that it's hard enough for them, and they're growing up too quick, and without all the other nonsense of relationships falling apart and fights and being used as weapons, and oh my god.
It is to be blessed with a strong family. Yes, G-Man, you're right there. Yes, I'm blessed with a strong family, said Jerry.
Yeah, fair play. I was my own family. I am, with my kids. That's what I'm getting at with my sisters and brother. No.
Look at Charlotte. Put a comment. Dear Sir Madam, one is exercising one's right to educate my procreation at home. This is what one has done in the past, twice with my youngest. I bow to your magnificence, Queen, Minister Charlotte of the Hermit L Clan. Bosh. That's how it's done, look. Just like that. Look at that. 1, 2, 3 and a quarter sentences on the chat room screen. So in real life, probably 2 sentences.
That's it, all you got to do. No law, you can do, another Project Fear. Oh, you have to take, no, you don't.
I'd love to set a proper education up where we could could you imagine what we could do with a little bit of access rights and some creativity? Oh, wow. Oh,
yeah. Wow. Proper protection, safe and decent and real education.
They send you...
Right from the off.
And that's why you need solicitors. Yes, they send you letters that only a solicitor can understand. That's that's exactly why they speak the way they do. So then you need to employ somebody to translate. Mum and dad falling out, then needing help via a translator. solicitors. Yeah, it's insane. We should be able to. Why couldn't we go to an administration, somebody that we trust, like SPL's Dave and Kev, in an office, and similar all around, where you go, yeah, we've got this going off. Can you help us out? Yeah, we can interface with the legal society for you for next to nothing. We've done it before. We've got the scroll here. All we need to do is do a few edits and tailor it to your specific requirements, which will take an hour. You can go and crack on, get it checked by somebody in the gang, the law society, and they'll go, oh yeah, but who's done this? Bang, and then you can carry on. So we are looking at somebody said to me today in a comment on a video about communities, and it made me think, I forget what they said, but I said I'd mention we haven't done Russell J. Gold Postmaster yet. Kev, pin it, please. I says, I'm not telling you, please. Yeah, we keep missing it. I said, we talk about why wouldn't we on a street get one of us collecting tins, one of us collecting plastic, one of us collecting cardboard. Obviously, the street would have to be in on this and clean. You know, you don't want bits of manky old food and veg moulded up on this. We want to be doing it, bearing in mind we're going to be putting it in places and storing it and crushing it. Aluminium, tin, plastic, you know, that stuff where you pay all these bills and taxes and everything, and then they come around and you pay them to take your rubbish away, and they're paying another company to weigh it in and dump it somewhere and get the metals and the plastics from that. Or they recycle it and just dump it in the sea, I'm hearing as well. So to stop it going in the sea, and because you're paying for them to do a service, and then you're giving gold away, basically, we could convert street rubbish in a year to an amount of gold. Fact. I know it sounds a bit, you know, management of self, management of health and self-supported, self-governing, self-supporting, self-repairing. And so that's another thing I wanted to broach upon. If you could get in touch, if you live on the top of a shops or in a high rise, it's going to be slightly different. You're going to have to work it a different way. But surely, to goodness, we could start thinking in lateral ways about how we could. And you could do like a street at a time, I suppose, yeah. And then once you've laid it out and it works, you've got something to show. You move on to the next street and show them. And that was in a comment today. So common unity standards in the form of why would you give away something worthy of money and pay someone to take it away when you could actually get that money yourself and not pay them to take it away. I'm not saying all rubbish, you know, your kitchen waste and that maybe. I don't think any organic waste should be thrown away. It should all be formed in some kind of composter and biogas made and put back in and etc. But we're not quite there yet. So the community standards aspect I'd like to look at, but pinning that one, yeah, I put a post up about President Trump's administration and the new Postmaster General that he has just appointed, which makes me want to ask the question, where is Russell J. Gould? Where is any acknowledgement from that? If the army and the claiming of the flag in that time, as he has said, with his purple thumbprints and whatever else is, sovereign initiative, I'm not belittling him. I'm not saying it didn't happen, but if you're telling us you've had meetings with the army and the troopers and whatever else, and you're on a national agreement, then Donald Trump, by rights, with Q and all this, what's going off in the Nasara Jasara, where was any acknowledgement of that, or have I missed something? It's different when you put a stamp on the envelope notice, and you thumbprint and you sign and you become a postmaster yourself on that. This is a Postmaster General that said he's got the US State Army under his acknowledgement, and they've had meetings. So that's all I'm saying. If I've misunderstood it, I'd like to be corrected. If I haven't, and I've got it right, which I believe we have, then Russell J. Gould has not been acknowledged by the President's administration and Trump appointing one. If there's information, I'd like it, and I'm going to look at his channel and see what he's got to say in light of that recent appointment. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Two things, Sweet. I just want to say, I'm just going back a little bit because I just got to remind myself of what your comments said. Yeah, we picked up your warrior. We got that. We got that from your messages, and then hang on, let me just come down here a bit. Where was I? Yes, she says the word love seems to have lost its truth by social engineering. You're absolutely right. It's oh, it's sad. It's yeah, definitely lacking. Strange times. Some very strange ideas floating about the realm of what's what, and who's what, and why, and what you can be every other 5 minutes. And yeah, there's some strange old stuff going on. The younger generation have just been staring at phones. You can all see it every day if you're just going down the street and walking along at the bus stops, all staring at the devices. I mean, no wonder none of them are going to see it coming.
It would be an excellent time. Love. Sorry, go on, carry on. Go on.
I'll just say, but the love, absolutely. I don't think that a lot of people not even have any clue what that is, that means, that feels like, which is sad. It's a very strange place. I know this is going to sound weird, but in a way I'm glad that I can't go out much. Because really I live here with the beasts. That's who I see most of the time.
Hang on, I'm getting the violin. Hang on, I didn't know this. Let me get the violin.
I thought you had the music lined up. Jesus Christ.
Well, it's just
there's me. I've even sprayed some water on my face, mate.
A perfect segue for Dave to come in. And Dave, who's he? David to come in and say, I've forgotten what I was going to say. No, I haven't. It'd be a perfect time for you lot to tell me what you thought of Diane Jesse Miller's One by One with Rick Mail, where he says agenda at least 50 times. He talks about 9/11 not being real in the setup, and the whole film is very zany, and it's got the agenda in there. Someone's just written about Agenda 20 and 25, sorry. We talk about the Georgia Guidestones there as well, and who put them. Nobody's owning up to this, and they just appeared, did they? Written 4 stones, double-sided. That's easy to work out. 2 4s, that's 8. So we've got 8 languages on 4 stones.
How did they get up there?
It just appeared by. There is a name. It's an interesting name actually. I forget that bit, but there is. It's written in my notes archives, and you've got 8 languages. Same thing. How to continue when there is no government, and what to do to like we need to be taught again. Just somebody. In that way, can you help me there? And we all focus on those just crumbling down. Like, man needs to be told by 4 blocks in the middle of a field how to preserve life and to continue. We did quite well before, the art of deception and whatnot. But that film, if you've watched it, and if you've not watched Superhuman yet, what are you playing at? We've got Quantum ESP on the wave of the quantum consciousness archives here.
Yeah,
the cosmic. Wow,
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, we got to talk about that. Russell J. Gould and also Diane Jesse Miller, One by One, Rick Mail, and the political
Shadow
notions.
people.
Did you like him? I tried to scare Kev. It failed, but he's hungry for more. Go on then.
Yeah, Dave turned me into an addict after one video. I think it's all I've watched since is I don't know if you've seen The Shadow. Anybody's seen that? What is it? Shadow people thing. It's something Maine.
I've got the site. Yeah, of Maine House, Lamb House, Maine and Lamb House or something.
Yeah, that's right. This house this guy lives in. It's a video. You've got to go and see it about the Shadow people. It's spooky. Go and tell us what you think of that. But yeah, and then immediately I'd watched that. I went straight to the Blokes channel. I think the first night I did about 5 hours solid just watching. I must admit, some of the second stuff I watched was a lot more about, electronic voice phenomenon, EVP. So it was entertaining, but not as entertaining as the Shadow people.
He walks around his house with the camera constantly on. Every room has got the light on because he's got weird noises and sounds, and occasionally when he walks into a room there'll be a shadowy figure just standing there, and he'll go, he'll go, son of a bitch, because it's just there in front of his face, and he's walked into a room and he's like, what? And one time it's in his bedroom window and it's flapping and its arms are going up and down and it looks pretty real. And he
Yeah,
says, there it is, it's in the window. And he stays there this time. Normally he bricks it, he shits a brick and legs it after he's done so. But this time he's there and he's holding it, and it jumps from the window and it goes from the window to the bed. You may have seen this clip and not know what we're on
yeah,
about, but he gets shadow people appearing, and he's done recordings with something like a Beofong receiver, transceiver, radio, and he's got a grommet on it, a device that then lets him hear, and they slow it down and they play it back, and there's some concern there for us if this man's had professional teams go there and they've used their equipment and they've got lots of evidence. So he's now gone out doing investigations and stuff. If you search the hauntings of Lamb, Lamb house,
Lamb House, is it?
yeah,
Lamb
and
House,
he's
yeah,
called Kent. He's a right Kent, he is.
yeah. His name Kent, so it, but
Yeah. Oh.
just watch the if you don't if, just watch the Lamb House one with the shadow people. That's just. I mean, there is a couple of bits here. I thought I've seen something similar before, but where he walks in the room and there's somebody standing there, and then what he does is he slows the film down and takes you back because he freaks, obviously. So he sort of goes and gets out of the room, and then he's standing outside the room, and there's a crack in the wall. There's like a wood panel wall, and there's a crack. And he's standing there, and you can see something moving through the crack in the room where he'd just seen this shadow.
And he's going,
And
shadow
then
dude,
he shows you the film.
shadow dude, shadow dude.
Yeah, Shadow Dude, he calls him. And this is the house he lives in. There's all noises and talking, and how he lives in there, I don't know. So he goes, he's like, yeah, I'll go off to investigate other people's shit now. But just watch it. It's really interesting.
But maybe not now in GMT at 11 p.m. You might want to watch this.
Oh, yeah, you might.
We
You might
have
not be able to sleep.
Indiglo, David and Kevin accept no liability for pooing of pants at this time for watching scary videos. But if you are quite stern, this is as top level effects. If it isn't real, if it is real, then all the more reason not to watch it tonight. If you can stomach that, then crack on. I was out trying to how do I put this? I was out in the garden at 1 o'clock watching that video, having a cigarette, looking up at the sky, trying to attract attention. I'm like, Dave, it's 1 a.m. You're in the garden trying to summon whatever it is up there whilst watching Shadow Man. You're not right, lad. I'm like, I'm not. I am right. It's just I'm not scared to interface with the unknown. I dare say is more to the point. But some of you may be like that. Some of you may need to watch it in the daytime with the curtains open.
It's
But
brilliant.
But yeah, remember, I'm looking for comments on the Postmaster, on Superhuman, Shadow Man, or general questions is where we're at in the cafe tonight. Then, okay.
It's a free for all with a couple of options if you can't think of any. If you got nothing specific.
We're here to serve you in any way we can. Entertainment, information, and Fortean type literature
Yes,
relations. Yeah.
strange phenomena. We like a bit of that. Unexplained.
It's a good job. The line of work we've chosen.
Fucking hell, yeah. I keep having to tell myself that every day. Doing the right thing while you're going mental.
Look at that, flies after a plumber and an electrician. Can we fix it? Yes, we can, Fly. We will find you your own Bob the fixer.
Plumber?
A plumber.
That should be easy enough. You ain't got a lot to do. What you've got to run some copper. You put the boiler in it.
Well, with a bit can plaster and fit doors and stuff. Dad was a joiner. We're all very... See, if we had some resources and we could chip together.
I can do most of it, but I'm not well.
Then you got supervisor role, that's you then, overseer. But if we had, the resources and the, inclination, like, I don't want to rub anybody's nose in it now, but I have to say this. If you had have invested in some gold bullion in October, November last year, and what is it, 4 years Brexit now. So in year 3 of Brexit, when we was expecting Brexit to hit last year and it didn't, let me think, good Lord, Corona fog. January we was on here saying it was big, and we didn't have Brexit. They extended it, didn't they? Yes, that's what happened when they let us have a Christmas. So last it was September, October, £1,200 roughly an ounce, a troy ounce. Now it was last time I checked, 1,500 a troy ounce, a £300 made in about 9 months. Every troy ounce equates to £10 a gram. So if we, that's just, I'm not, and this is why I'm telling you this, because next time we say something and we say it's a good bet, what I'd like to do is everybody put in a little bit, and we have a trust. I know this is weird to say on the internet in the land of the demons and Satans, but I think we have earned the trust and we've got respect. So let me just play on, all right? And some of you may want to cry, and I feel that, but that's life. Just remember that when we say stuff again, we're quite good at seeing and projecting. We're not wizards, we're not magicians, we don't have insider scoops, and we're not crown agents. But you would be sitting here now with £10 a gram profit on every of the grams that you'd got. If you'd have bought 4 ounce or whatever, I know it's a lot, but say like what, 1,200 to 1,000, 2,400, 4,000, 5 grand investment would be looking something modest now, you know, return wise, if you wanted to liquidate the asset. If we had a trust and we did this with lead, tin, aluminium, and we had storage capabilities, and we waited till the market price was in our favour, and in a recession that we're having now, watch what happens with scrap and the value of, and the gold and the silver. It becomes higher value. So what we would like to profess is, if you would like to care to rewind this channel's videos and listen, and you can remember us saying, and again, it's not gloating, I haven't got a mountain of gold and I haven't made a shitload of money, all right, but what we did say has actually transpired. And what we are doing here tonight is very well and commendable, but what we need to start to learn to do is to capitalise on the market and the capital gains like everybody else does with the access rights. So we do that as a fam. Back in the day, darker skinned Afro-Caribbeans couldn't get bank accounts. So do you know what they used to do? They used to work together as a private associates, and they'd all put in 10 of them, each one, they'd put in £100, you know, every month or whatever it is, and then they'd pay out, you know, 10 people with £100, that's a grand, isn't it? So every month somebody'd get a grand, and it'd work round every 10 months. So I know there's 12 months in a year, bad example, 12 people then. Every year, there's 1,200 quid comes your way, and it happens every month. Things like that. If you've got the trust, you've got the respect, we have to start to look at. I know obviously everybody, we're talking gold here, that's the worst example on the internet, because we're looking at stealing it, aren't we? All we do is come here to steal your time and your
I think
energy.
silver's worth a punt.
But yeah, could we see? And if that goes up, so what we need to do now is to think how we can do all of this.
Chips, isn't it?
Anyone got some space we can use? You want to make some money? Because we're all about ideas and profiting on, you know, benefiting now is where we're at. So we need to start to benefit from some of this in a lawful way.
What's silver running? About 18 quid, isn't it? 18 quid an ounce, I think, silver.
Yeah, it's very low. Yeah, I know.
But that's, you know, I think, you know, if you could get a few of it together, and I'm not saying bundles of money, but whatever everybody can afford, put it all in and just fucking buy a shitload of it, or as much as you can. Plot it up. I think it's going to pick up.
There's talk that gold could even go up to 2,000. And don't take this as financial advice, because it definitely isn't. It's revoked. It's frivolously revoked. All right here and now. But it is rumoured, yeah, that silver's going to make a big shift, and it's rumoured that gold could peter out at December time at about 2 grand. There's a Bitcoin area that I don't want to touch, but that has got a potential, and there's talks of Bitcoins having backing of precious metal. I'm not sure which one. It looks like it could be a gold-backed Bitcoin. What? That means that they are serious if that happens. So that will then, the market will absolutely rocket. So there's quite a lot. You know, there's been a time and you've missed out a bit, but there's still time to go. So I just thought, with regards to community, you need somewhere to stash. You're not going to store paper and cardboard. That's just 60 quid a tonne generally. It might fluctuate a tenner here and there, but your tin and your lead and your steel and your precious and your ferrous and your non-ferrous, we could start, you know, helping each other out here. It's a long shot, but it'd start on a street basis, basically, yeah, but also as a collective, we could bank it. But that's quite a severe, serious amount of trust there. I do realise what I've just said and what work that would involve to ensure that you got the returns and we all benefited, rather than the age-old story and then somebody legs it and is on an island in Greece going, ah, look at me, what, hello, or wherever it is. Generally seems to be Greece, Spain.
There's a lot going on in Greece.
In Spain, yeah, the Costa.
I've lost a bit of respect for Greece since I found out that they see paedophilia as a disability, and you can get benefits. Well, they always did like it in the shit locker over there, didn't they? Little boys and that, so part of the culture, isn't it?
Heritage seeds are a better investment. Yeah, I agree. I got some Greek blood, and I'm not going to defend any of that. I thought Sparta honour the Olympics. The Persians, the empires, the interface with Egypt, the School of Alexander Library and the School of Alexandria, Egyptians, Persians, Greeks, etc. Scholarly Muslims all together as one. And then it turns out it wasn't all honourability and niceness at all. Yeah, so each culture has got its. And I'm not going to defend any of that, but nasty, isn't it? It is.
Indeed. That's what I mean, yeah, Mia, that's right, silver, that's what I think, because it's got a lot of industrial uses. It's always been cheap. I just think it's a good punt. You don't have to put a lot into it, but who knows? You never know.
Who's had a chippies? Mr. Dav wants some chips and flies lifting shirts.
Yeah, I did see about flies lifting shirt lifter. I thought I'll scroll past that. Best not make comment. that well-groomed man, we know, mate. Yeah.
Put in blockchain. Your blockchain. We're going. It appears, yes, the fourth industrial revolution. Tracking, tracing, monitoring, chipping, tagging, data. I'd agree with that. Yes. Blockchain, it's alive, and it's we could use this blockchain for very, very good purposes. Unfortunately it's been weaponized against man, so it's a form of constraint and control in some ways. There's a film with Justin Timberlake and some lady, I forget the actor's name, and it's called In Time, where there's no currency. When you work, you get money is in minutes, and you've got a clock. It's like a quantum clock, I suppose, on your right arm, down from your wrist to your elbow, and it interfaces with like wireless technology. And when you want to pay for food or water or rent, it takes 10 hours a day, a month off your arm. You get me? So if you've only got a week left, like in hours, and it's ticking down, and you need to pay a month, you're gonna die. And that's how you carry on. I'm like, oh wow, this is something that we need to bear in mind here when they're putting ideas out there. If you've seen that film and you know what I mean, then yeah, that's your blockchain for fifth, quantum, tattoo, assignment, mandatory. Who knows? But the technology we have, it could be so beneficial, and we have explained how arrested the development of that petrol engine, combustion engine, money being your technology, coined by the Romans thousands of years ago. Still we're using that same, but we obviously seen the crypt. I mentioned that in the video, I couldn't help it, the crypto, and your crypt and your dead and your death and your Egyptians and your Anubises and your laws and your entities. So crypto is a clue there in a way. If it was a man that made this, I forget his name, they won't show his face, and the original creator of Bitcoin, if you could name him, you'll get 10 gold sovereign points, but he called it crypto, and that's in line with the theme that we're all too familiar with. So for me, I was like, I know about crypt walking, I know about crypts of families, do tombs, and kryptonite.
Cryptozoology.
Yeah, and kryptonite. I was going to say, and you go for cryptozoology. There we go. We got questions because, as you can see, we can chinwag on many topics. Nothing about Russell J. Gould. I'm disappointed, Scribes. I'm often disappointed. I tell you that the Trump administration has put in a new Postmaster General, and I say, what say ye? And ye say nothing. We ask you about superhuman and the extrasensory perception. You search for that on YouTube and you'll find a 2-hour documentary. That's excellent. That's Dr. Masaru Emoto on another level with the. It's got a lot for different people. I don't know if you can jog Kev memory, but there's quite a bit in there where they mind read their friends and where they are, and they try to locate them and see what they're looking at. There's children involved in assault courses and reading books. There's people turning bits of foil, I think it was invented in Russia, over a glass dome. There's a woman changing the effect of DNA. She changes that. She changes quite a lot, that lady. There's a blind lady that can't really see, that has an aid, that then uses the consciousness to read. So, Kev, has any of that jogged your memory? Have you got any favourite bits in that?
Yeah, the kids reading. One of the kids is like about, I don't know, there's about 6 or 7 kids in a row, and another one, standing in front of them, all blindfolded, and they all change places, and they'll say, throw the ball to so and so straight away. It's like barely even a hesitation, and they're catching it blindfolded as well. And then they all change round again. There's loads in it. This foil or this strip of some in a vacuum that's they get to move. And it's not like telekinesis as such. They're not like willing it to move. It's like a connection thing. And then the woman goes like 2 states away, 1,000 miles, and manages to move this thing. The guy himself says, only just moves a millimetre each way, like oscillates.
Oh, that's a needle reading, a needly type digital reading, isn't it then, yeah? Go on, I'll remember that.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden it turns like halfway round, and that hasn't happened before. So, it's just interesting. You have to watch it to sort of get some more context and understand what we're talking about. It's a bit vague, but it's not, you won't think you've wasted, what is it, an hour and a half or something? Hour?
If you want to see the power of Christ, in other words, in earlier days, it's 2 hours long. In earlier days,
Right.
you would have had men come along pretending you remember Merlin, and you remember the hierarchy and the servants they have. Usually, there's a story. Everybody, remember what I'm on about here, but magicians. But there's a story, and it's about Egypt. I forget the name. And a visitor comes, and I think he might be Ethiopian.
Oh, sorry.
He's not from Egypt. And he comes in, and he says to the king of Egypt, I'm going to let you do your research, but I'll give you most of the 80%. And he says, I come from the lands afar, representing X. He says, and we say the magic of Egypt is nay, and our magic is far more powerful. The Arab magic will say, the Arab lands, I'm not being racialist, that's actually, the Middle East and Egypt are confrontal in their times, conquests and battles. This is about magic. And he turns up, and it's the names now, they're very similar. The father and the son have a very similar name, like Sep and Isep, or Osis and Isis, but it isn't the Isis of Isis and Osiris and Horus. It's something like that. And anyway, the king of Egypt says, well, what do you want to do here then? All right, you're calling us out, Big Barry Barracuda from Ethiopia. Egypt's magic is the strongest magic. Now, I'm talking to the Christians here as well. The power of Christ and magicians in hierarchy, remember? Merlin and the King. So we're in Egypt, and we got this showdown of magic, and Egypt's just been put to the test. I forget the dynasty and king and the names, but the story is factual enough in what I'm giving you. And the king accepts, and he says, what do you want us to do? How do we prove it? That Egypt's magic is the best and the strongest in all of the lands. And he says, I've got a letter here, pal, and I want you to give me your finest scribe and magician, and I want you to tell me what the contents of this letter is without opening it. And in Superhuman, it's entitled Seeing the unseeable. Okay, so there is a theme, and I'm doing well here with this one. And he says, I accept. And he says, and fetch me my, and he calls for, the king of Egypt calls, and they come. He's, and there's a lot of different names for these folk, so I'll just say magicians of the palace, of Egypt. And he come out, and they all fail. And this bloke's like, aha, I knew the magic of Egypt. It was no good. You take one thing, but your magic is pish. And he says, wait, and this man now, this man, something like Isis, or I can't get it, I won't get it. But he says, leave it with me. He says, you are to stay here tonight. He says, there is one man in this land that will be able to do it, and I shall fetch him tonight. And you shall be a guest of Egypt, and tomorrow we shall have this, and the contents of the letter will be known. And so the king says, what? And he says, who have you got in mind? He says, never mind, king. He hasn't got anybody in mind. He's going to save Egypt, though, because they're looking like they're going to be talked about, and it's quite bad, and the king will be angry. Enough said. So the king puts up the visitor who's made the claim, and they failed for the night, treats him, looks after him. The king's number one man goes out, we'll call him Sep, and he goes out. That's not his name, but for now it is. And he goes out and he goes home and he's like, I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. I've just made, oh man, the magic of Egypt is, it's all a big, massive, serious as it gets, life and death. And he finds his son and he's chatting away and he's saying, who do you think would be able to, we need to collect a load up and do some, and his son says this, Dad, I've been practicing a rare form of magic which involves seeing the unseeable. He says, I believe. And he's like, no, son, I'm really, I love you to bits, but this is a job for a strong magician, okay? Now shut up and help me think. And his son says, but Dad, I really can do it. I'll prove it to you. And his dad says, all right, I'll give you a chance just to shut him up and show him that he can't do it. He says, fetch me an unopened letter from my office immediately. His son goes, Isep, goes and gets the letter, brings it back to his dad and says, yeah, he says, right, now tell me what's inside there and make it good. And his son tells him what's inside the letter after an amount of time. His dad opens it and blow him down. It's exactly what he said. He says, okay, son, come with me. And they do a few more tests and they're going back to the palace, the king of Egypt in the morning. And his son reads, attempts to, and as his dad comes out with the son, the king's like, ooh, that's not a man, that's a boy. The rest of the onlookers of the city, empire of Egypt, dynasty there, they draw their breath. They don't have faith in this little boy. And he comes out and he has a go and he reads out the story, and it's not a nice story. It's about this time where the king of Egypt was taken by the times in the past. The king of, where did I say, Ethiopia? It may not be there, but we're using this for the time being to get the story across. And they battered the king of Egypt every night, and they kept bringing him back and showing him to the people, and the people couldn't do anything, and the king couldn't defend. It's not a nice story what's in that letter. And the king of Egypt hears this, the modern one that's there in present day when I'm telling this story from, not the old king that got nabbed and beat up and brought back and made a laughing stock of the empire there. And the king says, is that what's in that letter? And he says, yeah, I'm going to open it and show you. And it's everywhere. I know that was a bit long-winded and whatnot, but the magic and the seeing without seeing, it seems that we read these stories and we disconnect with them and we think they are foreign and farcical and etc. And we look through times and histories and stories, and that's a real bad. I haven't done any justice to that story. Anybody that knows that, help me out. If you don't, I will find a link and put it in the community pages and say, here's the story about Egypt's magic, and you'll know what I'm on about. I think it's Viper TV or something similar like that do them ancient, megalithic 2-hour presentations of stories that you're just like, what? That's amazing. So I thank you for that. Magic is real, and that superhuman magic is real. Quantum consciousness, cosmic archives, downloads are real, and you can connect to it. And that documentary in real life, and there could be an element of fixing, but I do believe that the presenters and producers and whatnot will soon be found out. Much like everything else. So. Kudos to all. And when you hear us talk about certain things, or when Christians need to focus on the power of Christ and love and prayer, it's there and it's true, but they're not necessarily associated with the systems that we think, the internet, and the telepathicness and the extrasensory perception, the hauntings of Lamb House, the dots in the sky, apparitions, energies and waveforms. We're in a renaissance right now, and because we're in it, we can't really see what's going off. It's all a bit cataclysmic, isn't it? Fast, and every area is moving. So, yeah, I'll leave it there. And you've got a lot to discover if you haven't already. What?
Chippy Paul season. Hi mate, how you doing?
Back in room.
Straight on the DNT. Fair play. I had 3 nice evenings with that.
I see some comments about Gould. Thank you, Quinn.
Yeah. Yeah, been looking at.
Yeah, we're natural.
Ozam from Mia.
Supernatural from Simon. I like that. Yeah.
All right, you're right at the end there.
Yeah, I'm working up now. Yeah.
Simon, how you doing?
Any questions? Anything we've done about videos, topics, content, certificates, property rights? I'm not up with the news. I haven't watched any news for about 4 days, so I'm going to catch up tomorrow morning.
Only news I get is if I see something on Facebook, really, or YouTube. Well, generally, if I see something on Facebook that I think I'll go and have a look, see what I can dig out, go and find some further stories about that. Then I'll go onto YouTube or whatever and have a look round. But mainstream stuff, I don't listen to the radio. And if I do, it's specific shows. So, I don't watch any mainstream TV, don't read newspapers, nothing.
Menza and Alias have seen Superhuman, top notch from Alias, and yes, Menza blind using sonar to navigate. Well done, thank you for that.
Who made the comment about Out of Shadows? And then saying Out of Shadows exposed or something. I think that's what it said, something like that.
Go on.
I saw it earlier. I'm just going back a bit. I bet somebody's putting in right at the end, it was me, while I'm going backwards trying to remember who it was. There's quite a lot of comments going on, that's unfortunately, and I haven't got my glasses on either, so I'm squinting furiously at the screen. Luckily it's on the tablet, so I've got a little bit more of a chance of seeing it rather than the phone. Who said that?
I'm looking, I can't see, I'm looking at...
Is there anything right? Yes.
Heritage Seeds, I'm looking at that. I've seen something by Seeds and Mia.
Yeah,
I've gone all the way up there, talking about seeds for sowing and growing. Sowing and growing, not lineage. It's 11:30, we've done well here.
And we was on time.
Yeah, we're done. That's 2 hours have just flown by. They have for me.
Yeah. Sure have. Oh, I've lost the plot now.
I yield, Jerry says. You know where that comes from, anybody? Can anybody tell me? I got that from a man called Flat Earth Dude, Fed, I used to call him, from Sun and Moon. And when he used to talk, he'd then say, I yield. And I got that from him. And it wasn't till the other day when I was investigating claims and I was looking somewhere, I seen a place where this man was chatting and he says, I yield the floor. And he yielded it mid-chat because somebody else wanted to speak. So then he let them speak and he didn't agree with what they were saying. He went, I take my... And there's another part where if you say I yield and you let somebody speak, it's like a little parlay. He says, I recall my time and I unyield. And then he steps back in and I'm like, wow, this is brilliant. We need to learn this. But it emulates somewhere which we don't like, is all I can say. It's not Parliament, but it's similar to I yield. Where do you think that comes from, fam? Who says that? Where would you imagine that? Similar to?
Anders is in the house. Hello, mate.
Didn't
Hope
come
you're
from
all right.
Anders.
Feeling
Nice,
better. It didn't come from Anders, no.
It's
Must reveal the source.
it's a lovely thought. Thank you, Anders, for the hearts and the smiley faces. It come from a Congress. Congress. If you look at when they're in Congress and what they do there, it then yields when they're speaking and they can call back their time and stuff. It's I didn't realise that we were saying I yield. I only found out the other day where that come from. I am
It's a
asking.
nice
Go on, keep
turn of phrase. It's a nice turn of phrase.
It is, yeah, isn't it? Yeah, congressional. It's from Congress. When you see the senators chatting, and they yield to one another. So I was like, "What is that? Where that's from?" Well, I'm gonna have to tell the fan. And yes, Mia, arse about face, standard.
Go backwards, trying to find stuff. It's a nightmare.
Yeah. What we got? I'm gonna scroll up now. Yeah, we're all good. So I want to have a look at wrapping up soon by 12 or something. We'll do a 25-minute.
Okay, long goodbye.
Something like that. Yeah, we'll see. I am sending off for my details tomorrow for the certificate of live birth. The certificate of birth is it's known. I will be sending the email tomorrow. We've come out and given you information regarding that, so we'll see what comes back and who gets what. And you'll have to refer to the video entitled for more information. Thank you all for the praises there, and good luck to us all.
Yeah, who knows what's to coming, people. might have a fight on our hands if it all goes tits.
Congress 41
Numbers.
Alias 69 has just come in with a 1991 classic. I believe it was 91. Congress 40 Miles. I may even have that on vinyl. Piano classic. One version with the lyrics and one without on the B-side, yeah. Everybody knows that. Who's above 35, 30 will know that one.
Pardon me.
There is a lot of yield, yeah. The earth does yield, and you can pick blackberries fly.
That's why we, say it's all part of the plan. All the farming virtually been shafted in this country. All the yeast, it's all part of the big.
Matthew John, long time no see. Hello there. Who believes in the milk tray, man? AKA Trump. Hello there, and thank you for that. I see you.
Hello, Matthew. How you doing? See, I found the message now.
Question, Menza.
Oh.
Why did all the hospitals and schools suddenly become trusts and academies?
Yeah.
Well, you could argue as well with that, the councils went from a council to a corporation. So instead of the Council of Sheffield, you've got the City of Sheffield Council, and things got switched around. So we had a capitalisation. I think somebody capitalised on that, and you got some capital gains coming back. So when did the infrastructure, so it would be public systems, your public owned, because the British telecoms and the British gases, remember when it was just 4 channels and we just had the Britishes everywhere, and then we had to open up so at that time, who was there? Probably Thatcher era, before just, I don't know who before Thatcher, who was that? Anyone remember? I can't.
Don't ask me.
After Thatcher, we can remember the lineages of. So you've got the quasi-trusts we brought out there, Menza, as well. So what's happened is much like the Royal Mail, it's not Elizabeth's anymore, and it's a company, and Cadbury's, everything that was. I know that's not really in play, Cadbury's, but that got sold off and it's made in Poland and shipped back to. So yeah, just about everything that was the backbone of Britain, built by our forefathers, churches, schools connected to churches, really. So you got to look at how did the church, like we did with the hospitals, they come from armies, and churches gave us, not they gave us schools, but they helped with the educational side of it and the narrative. So when we look through the indoctrination of the doctrines and what them doctrines and doctrinations were, we find military, and that's a bit sidetracked, but you need to know that to then gauge what go on and how they get turned from public access, I forget the words now, national, owned as it was, and then when they sell off land and assets and they divvy up on our behalf, and we don't claim because we're all public. You see, in the public, you've got no rights and titles and the access to, when we say the titles to access and property are reliant on your status, standing and capacity. And whatever man is in a public, pubic, to be fair, pubic public, it's only an L in a bracket, there's a difference there, and you're in that common law public sinful debtor. I'm sorry, but it is there, and that's how they've done it. It appears, as we've rediscovered, and then you want to get a cut of that. You're not gonna, because, and I'm not, because I'm including myself in this when I say you. We are not in that club. So the essence of moving to the private, when we talk about equitable relief and remedy, it's not just cashing in the birth certificate. No, Men's has got a good point. They've sold off national owned, built, sweat of our forefathers' backs, no less, yes, and they've made a profit, and they sell the land and they do what they do, and the schools, the academies, the hospital, the assets, the reports, the capital gains are made. They're not paid out to anyone who's in the public, but they will be paid out to those in the private, shareholders and the lords and the ones that are funding and running this, and the offshore tax havens that then are in other countries that aren't British anymore, but they're under British management, and you know how it is there, Jersey, and what with the Panama Papers and BCCIs and the Spider's Web documentary with that man Jonathan Shaxton, what a legend, and others. So you work out then when you move to the private, you're going to get the equitable relief, maintenance and cure going forward, alternative provisions being in the private, offsetting and not being in this war, and you'd get access to all of the capital gains that you see when they say how much do you want and what do you think you're worth. You've got your land, you've got your weight of gold, you've got your certificates, you've got your bonds, you've got your SPVs, you've got your accumulative interest, you've got your equitable remedy, equitable interest, and it's a big old pot. There's a lot of money that they've accrued and sold off, and privatisation of public owned national infrastructures is the words I was looking for earlier with Thatcher and the Kwasi, and so you're beginning to see now when they become into trusts, and from schools into trusts and academies, and from whatever you said, and you and I will not get a slice of that until we're in the proper position as the creditor, not the debtor, the sinner, not the evil doer. I'll yield there.
Yet again.
That's not perfect, but I hope you get, some kind of bearing from and why you don't have a look in it, and they're doing that because until you go knocking and claim what is yours, you won't get out now. But thanks for the question, and if anyone's got a different answer and opinion, please put it in. They took our derbs. They took our land. I'm just thinking of South Park now. That episode where they took our jobs. And they get these,
Yeah,
took our derbs. Gotta have a little. Sorry for that, but I'm glad if you smile.
South Park floated in there.
Burn.
Fly says, you see that is. Do you think it's worth the hassle of finding out how I can drive without a license, or is it easy to find a chauffeur?
Well, he's messed himself up there. Sorry, Fly, but you've asked for it. Then you cannot drive without a license because you just said the word drivers need a license, but man travelling Does
You
not.
can
So
travel
there
without
we
one.
go. So no, you can't. The answer to your question is no, and that's the reasons why.
Yeah.
Try
You're
again.
using the wrong language.
Bless you.
Step out of the legalese.
Ask for
Chauffeur, check him out. Yeah.
ask for full disclosure on the driving license from somebody, not the driving license vehicle agency, but go to the Transport Minister. Grant Shapps is number one, and some others maybe, but Grant Shapps. Julie Leonard is the CEO of the Driver Vehicle Licensing Agency. So we got Grant Shapps, Transport Minister. You got Julie Leonard. Their ministers are what? They're governable under the rule and the force of international law. And I've mentioned before what governs ministers and how you hold them to account there. They have a duty and a responsibility. If you were to have a faith or a particular political international covenant and belief and etc., and you was to not want to be a person recognised at the eyes of the law, and you needed alternative ways to travel on this landmass unmolested, I've just done a video fly that you might want to check. It is 3.5 hours long, but I did put a bit in there. And you'd anybody else with comments, by all means. Private capacity. I have managed to send back the V5s for the blue van and the pink Tigra. I have the call recorded with Chase about private property and transfer of titles. I used the agent there and I recorded the call, and he told me to send back the V5. So I now have 2 private property assets of trust that I benefit from and do not own. I have no V5s for them. I have let the DVLA know, but not Grant Shapps. That will be done imminently. Just perfecting off too many jobs, helping you lot out before I help myself. But those are the lines you would go across to begin with, and let them know that you have private property. It's not what's a registered keeper. You know, well, you're not a registered keeper. Can you prove that you have under English law, because it is England and Wales, not United Kingdom, so you say, under English law, can you prove in a court of law that that is your property, and do you have the title deed to that property? If you get an iron horsey car van from new, do you know what you get? You get a certificate of origin. That's very useful, that is. But with a second, well, you don't always get that. You need to get that. But you don't get that with a new car, but you can do if you ask for it, and you know the right people. But because we buy them all from the showroom and they don't give you the certificate of origin, even when it's brand new, or you buy them usually like we do, second hand, and save 10 grand because, you know, it's just, that's better, you won't get that certificate. So you can prove in other ways that there was a lawful bills of sale title holder to property. How do you prove property is yours? By the title of it. Have you registered that property? Well, you need to look at what you've done when you've registered it. How do you prove that's yours? Registration, non-disclosed, you know, new knowledge has come to light, and I've given you loads there. I'm going to yield. That should help.
Yeah. Stop. Put the account into dispute.
That's one, yeah. Claims and stuff. False.
Well, you stop anything. Right, everything's stopping right now on this account until and a condition accept. That's it. Shut them down.
They're going to claim that that's their property. You correct them with any trust or agreement and commercial whatever. So you got claim to property, let them know, and give them a call initially. So my mate Dave's had a call, and he's told me to do this. He's got trust property and the titles have changed, and if I by any chance down on your system and my property is, then it needs to be removed now because it's not your property, and I'm not the registered keeper anymore. You need to know. This is a good one, Fly. For the reasons of GDPR and data correctness, if your records are incorrect as a company, you're obliged legally to correct them. So hear this. Your records are incorrect. I, Fly, am not the registered keeper. This call is recorded, and by you, the company, and I'm recording it for my own lawful purposes. My advocate at law has advised me to call you and inform you of the change of information, which I'm legally obliged to do. And you're legally, as an agent, you're an agency there, aren't you, at the DVLA? Yes, yes, you are. Yes, thank you for that. Well, as my agent here today, I require from you to update, as accordance with your policy and company law, corporate law, sorry, not company, it's corporate law, the data that's incorrect. Mr. Fly is no longer the registered keeper. I'm what's called a beneficiary. This is private trust property, okay, and you have first-hand knowledge now. You're going to send a notice to Julie Leonard, and she can be appointed in a certain, I'm aware we're on YouTube and we're giving away, nuggets, but Julie Leonard will be appointed, and we know how to appoint now. We've given you that earlier on how to give delivery and serve and proof of the letter and what we talked about intricately. So it turns out for you, Fly, this video has been a good one, because now you can actually do, and anybody can, follow that and try that, and let us know how you get on. As long as you can prove everything, and you've got the recordings and you've got the stamps and the signatures and the other things from the end in a court of law, I doubt any judge would be able to box clever from your proofs of claim and the fact you're in law and they're in legal. They're already at default. Once you're in default, you've already won the court case. What we doing here? I got some damages. Checkbook off. We're going to stop this clamping and theft and all of this other. Smart motorways. We've got smart mans. Don't need a smart motorway. I know many a man who can drive and drive well, better than these motorways that change from 40 to 50 to 60 to 40 to 50 to 60 over a 20-mile stretch. Do you want to do that? Because they know you're in a rush. They know that you're going to touch up another 5 or 10 miles. They've got these radar detectors and cars parked up. They don't go out looking for criminals, and they audit, they administrate for the Crown, and they know that you one day going to forget it's a 40 and you're doing 60 and you should have looked up, but you didn't look up because you're looking at the effing road where all the traffic is, and you forgot, and it's put it at a 40, and it says men were at work in the road and you must drive slowly. But for the last 10 miles of the stretch of the M1, there's been no workman in the road. There hasn't been a van, there hasn't been a triangle, there hasn't been a lamp post or anything, there hasn't even been a cone, but yet they're making you do 40 and you forgot and you're doing 60, but now you're a criminal and you need to pay, and that can end up with you getting your van took away. Are you having a laugh? Are you really having a... And that's what we're putting up with, I'm afraid, and we call that law. And the real law, with the kids that are in care, that get missed, taken and took away and easy prey, they don't get investigated, and that's the real crime. And just let me yield here. It infuriates us. It's the sovereign way.
Yeah, it's also wrong.
It is. They play games with us. I've noticed it. I have travelled around the country like you lot have, and I've travelled well, and I've hurt nobody. Nobody can make claim on me for any common law harm in life, truly. And I've done things that you lot would cringe at, in my youth, as I'm sure you have. And it's all well and good, all well and good.
No, I've been an angel all my life.
No, I'm on about in Greece, when you're in Greece, let me just, Iraqi, Greece, a moped, 3 a.m, single man, DJ, invent the rest, invent it, and whatever you invent, it probably happened. So yeah, it's not so much here, but in countries where you can, I'm like, this is unbelievable. And the police stop you and you just give them 20 euros and now you're on your way again. I'm like, what? You can actually buy the police. Yeah, tourist, hey? Yes. You DJ? Yes. You been drinking? Only little. 20 euro, please. No problem. Off you go. See you later. What? I know. They come in the bar, they give the barman an arse kicking, he pays them some money, and they go again. It's just, that's the way the world works, everybody.
Yeah.
You say that, but yeah, the tax office do private deals with big companies with billions of pounds of revenue, and they do a private special deal with them. It's how the world. If you're not doing a private special deal and you're going straight down the normal way, then there's something wrong. That's what agreements are all about, and red pens and making marks and coming to fighting for your rights. Do you accept that? I do mostly, but this bit I've got a problem with. Which bit is that? The bit that says you've got control over my life. All right, and what problem do you have with that? It's my life, it's my life, my... Sorry, Dr. Alpen came in then from the past. So you straighten that out and reclaim your life, renegotiate it. Is it crucifixion? No, it's freedom, actually. Thank you very much. Me? Shark bait? No. Ha ha.
So, no, we're nearly there, mate.
We are, yeah. Fly. Thank you for that. Let's go. What else have we got? Any more final questions, comments, praise? If we have made you smile, laugh, I've seen that it's been about 20, 28 all night. We'd like a thumbs up, perhaps a share. Did you like me and me gappy tooth? I saw the Watford Gap comment, Kev, and I want to get you live on the show to say, we knew you've got a tooth missing, but we didn't know you got the Watford Gap. That's the love that we have.
Yeah.
That's the support and the love. That was the boost that I needed to get me through the rest of the week. Thanks for that, bro.
I can't resist. You was showing it off, sticking it in the camera and everything.
You see why I don't want to show my face all the time, because that's just not pretty, is it? I don't mind going around life and dealing with it, but I'd like to wear that mask 24/7. Yeah, no, I don't want to wear a mask, and I don't mind showing my teeth, but I do feel a little bit uncomfortable looking like a pirate when I'm talking about boat people and such things as. But I showed it you. I'm not that vain. You can have a laugh, and you saw it.
What else to put in there?
Was there more? I don't. They haven't let the comments out yet. I only saw a bit, and then the rest have disappeared. So I'll go back and skim.
Oh, I can't. Yeah, I can't remember. I'm sure there was something else in there. I did, or probably several little quips.
Yes, Ewok. Black.
Oh yeah, hello Chris, mate. How you doing?
I see Ewok.
Hope you're all right.
Thank you, Chippy Paul. We are the men. We all are the men. Davy boy, I like that. I can hear him. You are the man, Davy boy. We need a rave. I really want to have a rave with you a lot and express our freedom.
Can we get hold of that quantity of consumables?
Yes, we could. we can magic it. We got contacts now. Look, we are connected.
No worries. Not a problem. Yeah, that'd be nice, wouldn't it?
I'm trying, but just so many barriers and dangers.
We're running out of time, mate. Running out of time.
The trust does a get together, and then 50% of the ones that are there come in and say, Dave, I got infected at your meeting, I'm holding you responsible. That's what we don't want. I'm not saying there is anything to get infected by, but either way, I have to be careful and trust. And we did get offered a field down south, a venue in Liverpool. We've got one in Birmingham to have a look at. So I'll talk with the ones on the .com and see. Birmingham's quite good, not because I know it, but because it's in the middle. But then, down south, there's a field, but there's no amenities. It's a farm field that somebody knows, so that's gratefully appreciated. But we don't have the ancillary, apparatus to perform a meeting or whatever, a seminar and etc. And I've got to look at Liverpool, and then there's that one. But I'm still watching transport and what's happening for all of us if it's viable. It's left a bit later than usual. We've normally done it by now, so I'm not doing it. It's just we are looking and evaluating and waiting to see if anyone else has any options. And please let us know.
Indeed, running out of time now, aren't we? Unless we're lucky with the weather.
I see Snafu. Oh, go on, carry on.
I don't know, end of September, maybe beginning of October, but all weather dependent, really. But as I say, it's facilities. The first one, that was already there because there was another event going on. So it was a bit different, but we can't just have, especially women. If there's some children, we can't have them having no facilities. Us dirty tramps, we don't care.
Thank you, Snafu. We'll allow you to continue bigging up Common Law Court because you've been a scribe for at least, I think, 2 and 3 years or something. So would you please now tell me and do me the good honour and the rest of the room and tell us why you would advise, inform, suggest that Mr. David and Fly go to the commonlawcourt.com. Yes, I'll advertise it and plug it because, and sign up and register there. I love you to bits, Snafu, and like I say, you're a long-time scribe, and that's rare for a channel, and I appreciate long-term scribes. Long-time listener, first-time caller. I did a video specially for you all. So, I'd like now, Snafu, please don't not answer. Honestly, if you believe, after all we've said and brought to everybody and what we've outlaid and the dangers and the non-transparency and the non-disclosure and the dangers of possible titles and property and holders in due course and Crown copyright and John Smith, I would like to know why you've said to 2 of the scribes in the chat tonight, and I'm not picking on you, this is with love and respect, because if you can say to me in the room why commonlawcourt.com would be beneficial to go and register titles and property to, you know something that I do not, and I need to catch up, is what I'm thinking here, and it's with love and respect, so please, if you do not answer, that means you've gone, or you can't, or you don't want to. And don't be angry. I just want to know the answers to that because I don't see a benefit. Kev, please comment. Yeah, how do you feel?
No, I don't think it's a very good idea to be signing away anything, registering anything with anybody like that. You can take control of that yourself. Once you know what it is, I certainly wouldn't be giving it away.
Use
or
trust.
Register it anywhere else.
Use a trust to discharge liability. That's exactly. It's not just financial. It's Thanks. Carry on, Kev. Yeah, but we discharge liability with that trust. So why would we give it away or use it?
And the other thing, with the common law court thing itself, for me, I mean, they're claiming, they've these convictions and that convictions. Well, brilliant. I can convict thousands of people like that, but there's no recourse happening, is there? There's no remedy. Nobody's coughing anything up. Nobody's getting put in prison. It's,
Has he helped anybody get DWP payments? Has he helped anybody with anything relevant and practical? Is he clear and transparent, approachable, contactable, coming on live, explaining stuff, making himself contactable, giving out the email, interacting, offering to come out in the street? And I'm interested. We're not vexatious and we give love to all. We do have angry sides and we're not effing saints, but we're not idiots either, So if we've missed a trick, we've missed a big trick, and I'm worried. And if we haven't, then we're right, and you lot need to make a decision. And if you're going to come into the chat and you're going to give information and big it up, I'd like to know why. That's all I'm asking, is what is the crux of the belief that you have to support common law court, that we are not offering, or we have not done, or, we've missed. Yeah, I don't know what else to say, Kev, but... the room, we never tell them what to think. We let them decide, even when we have been attacked or things are down or we may have made an error, an omission, and I've made, God Lord, hundreds. And that's how I learn, because I won't make that mistake again, fam. I'll think, oh dear, you didn't want to do that. But like when you're DJing, remember in the old days when you was in a pub with wooden floorboards and you had woolly socks and you was having a drink and a smoke and you got scratches on your record. So what we're saying here, fam, do you ever think there was a time where it went and it went quiet? It did for me. And you thought, shit, it's happened again. I swore last time. I'm never DJing a pub with wooden floors and bloody dirty records that I haven't cleaned with woolly socks, having a smoke outside, drinking me beer, neglecting the decks, come back in, everyone's going, whoa. Jesus, man. And he says, so you have these times, yeah, you think you learn. You learn, that's all you should do. If you can relate to any of that, like Kev probably can, then yeah, you can laugh with, not at.
Yes.
MP3s are brilliant for more than many reasons. No woolly socks, no jumping with the people jumping when you put a banger on and they jump up with the tune like Congress. Ding 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 ding. And that's what that is. That 40 miles, an original 91 classic piano rave crescendo. And they all jumping around, and you're like, stop dancing my records. I'm jumping. Oh. Yeah, it's hilarious. I did go to a club and see some hung by string, and I actually went up and laid underneath while the man DJ'd. I was quite high at the time. And it was a unique experience, swinging decks, live in play, and I was like, this is where the table should be. I couldn't get my head around it. I was abroad at the time, and nobody knew me, so it was one of them ones, you know. I knew the DJ man, and I was like, this is unbelievable. You can just have a chill here, look. Back on track, we're going. It's common law court answer time for snafu. It's 12. We've done the long goodbye.
Let's go at the end of the thread.
We've done it, Kev. 2.5 hours. 180 minutes plus.
Exactly, Matthew. That's what I mean. You know, you register. Why would you want to register anything there, especially birth certificates and stuff? For God's sake. As I say, look, you know, I'm not saying what they're trying to do is not valid under common law. It absolutely is, but you're not getting. You can convict all the people you like, but if there's no, you know, nobody's getting really. Nobody's taking any notice of it, are they?
Sorry,
that's what I'm getting.
Menzies just killed me. Oh. Sorry.
Who are you?
It's right underneath a nice kind. I got flies because I work up backwards, arse about face. I will never change. Oh wow! And the red flies, lovely message. But I missed Menzies, and I was like, at Alias, what kisses? Because I saw flies kiss, and I seen Alias, and I went Menzies. I've missed that. They could well release a deadly marmalade bioweapon for the second wave. Just once.
Marmalade.
That's just tickled me so much because, yeah. There you go. Claims from Matthew about a Scottish common law court, a Scottish government. Crescendo, are you out there? That's a nice piano. That's more piano. Da da dum dum dum. And it had a nice rolling bass at the beginning. I know that one. It was a Paul Oakenfoldy type crescendo build up at the time of Grace. It's Not Over Yet. Pete Tong classic set one on the radio, and it builds up with the violin. It's got a violin in it. Unusual for a dance track to have that classical. The way that it went, it was very, very nice. That well said, Fly. That's probably in my top 100 of dance tracks. Used to mix in nicely with Nailing and Kane, Beach Ball, and other such Balearic classics as. Yeah, man, I might listen to that now after this show. Thank you, Fly, for your lovely comments and your DJ acumen.
Ladies.
Men's has done his best. Oh man, I don't know where that came from. Your mind's a scary place. I worry for you, Menza. Somebody asked, if you deregistered the vehicle, could you get insurance? May I just say that you've corrupted my database now, because if you deregister, you would be in the private and not ever in commercial activity, and you would be evoking the right to travel unmolested on the lands in a private capacity, diplomatic, exempt from. So you would never need insurance commercially, because you're not commercially a driver, a citizen, an employee, and so you're private man travelling. So any common law damages and damages commercially that you inflict, create, cause, etc., knowingly, unknowingly, you would then pay for, and you'd have to save and you'd have to pay privately, because you would register with the government, home secretaries and so forth. Perhaps if you was in the private and you did it right, if you didn't do it the way we're on about, you'd maybe put some bonds in play and you'd draw upon bonds, because if you go in private, you could presume you're going to do it all, and then there's ways to look at using private banking systems, and then you discharge. So if we're all looking at the private banking system, you've got to think of the long shot there. You wouldn't need, in a private capacity, commercial insurance unless you was ever going to be commercially active, in which case you could still settle any deficits and damage with your cash, because cash is promissory note. So you'd use your private way, and if you're in the private, I presume that your whole estate and you eventually would be, and we would use that to our advantage and benefit from bankruptcy, and insolvency in general, and then we'd offset and transfer from funds and trusts and accounts and offices. So yeah, not necessarily like that, but you'd use the instruments and the ways. When I say equitable, relief, remedy, cure, maintenance, then those are the offices that we'd be using, and that'd be in play in the private. If you was just going to skulk off, get a blender, £250, £500 unit, and not have it insured and just go around and nothing else, then you're in a world of pain. But when I say that, I'll just draw your attention to Traveller, the Irish community, and what we've pointed out there. Then they often do get a van taken off them, and they'll say, "Take the ducking van, I'll get another tomorrow," and off they go, and they're not bothered. So each to their own. I'm a Traveller, leave me alone, because they are Irish travellers. We've pointed this out, the ruling. So it's a sticky one. It's your choice, and I haven't got the perfect way for you. There are many ways, and it depends on what you're willing to do and what you're willing to lose. Push come to shove, they've got a gang and it's bigger than yours and mine. So you wouldn't.
Indeed.
Kevin, we've done a good. Yeah, we're getting off now then. So we'll say thanks. And is there anything you want to say, or is there anything you've seen, Kev?
No, just as we're coming to an end, the Honeycomb Bear has arrived. Says hello to you. How you doing? We're just wrapping up. No, I haven't got anything to add really. It's been really interesting though. This evening, for what it was, here and there and everywhere, and then a bit deep.
I'll have a look at Honeycomb Bear's channel. That looks a new scribe and a new name. Hello, welcome. Thank you. We are at the end. We've done a mammoth sesh actually. We're going on for 3 hours, so I presume there's something in here for everybody. We fielded questions. Yeah, the Sunday surgery sessions is over.
Cheris, how you doing? People coming in as we're ducking out.
Yeah, I'd like to one day do a mammoth one and keep just 6 hours at a time, I think it is, and then they ask you to stop. But I'd like to do a 24-hour one day or something, just for the fun.
Yeah, we could do that.
Because time zones around, that's what it is. It's here GMT, and we've got 1:15 midnight, but to others, different times and that, continents, and
yeah.
Thank you to all though, much love, and we'll say night. That's nearly an hour. This might be one of the longest goodbyes ever. We might have set a new precedent.
I have to start timing them. Yeah, thanks very much, everybody. I hope you've enjoyed it. As I say, we'll see you soon. It's been great. Really appreciate you all being in and having a chat in amongst yourselves and with us and interacting. Really appreciate it. And we'll see you real soon.
I just read Minister Charlotte's boxing deck suspended. Wow,
yeah.
Wow, what history, memories. Bless up. Thank you. Nice one. Good night. Ciao, bello. Stay self-governing and sovereign.
See ya.